Chapter 3280. Gu Xian told the news to Lin Yi in detail. By the way, they found out that the Heaven Stage experts were killed by the Blood Underworld sect. Oh? Lin Yi could not help but frown. These people actually found out that it was the Blood Underworld sect. To be honest, Lin Yi felt a little sorry for the three ancestors of the Blood Underworld sect. Although the people were killed by these three, he also gained some benefits. So, Lin Yi quickly asked, then, did they go to the Blood Underworld sect? They should have gone, but there was no result. The people of the Blood Underworld sect were unharmed, but the president of the Black Horse Gang, Qian Peguang, died. Of course, I can't find out how he died. I only know that he died. Gu Xian said, the current situation is that the members of the Vengeance Assembly are all silent. I don't know what agreement they reached with the Blood Underworld sect in secret, but it turned into the current situation. Oh? That's really strange. Lin Yi frowned. Gu Xian, an ancient expert, did not know the inside story. Lin Yi did not need to rack his brains to think about it. There must be something unknown in it, but with Lin Yi's current level, he might not be able to reach it. Thinking of this, Lin Yi said, then, other than that, is there any news of them coming to me? Not for the time being. I don't know what the people of the Blood Underworld sect said to them, but they all stopped. Gu Xian said, there is no news of any progress at the moment. Okay, I got it. Help me pay attention to the movements of these people. If they want to find me, tell me immediately, Lin Yi said after pondering for a moment. Although the situation was very strange, Lin Yi still decided to wait for the situation to stabilize before going back. For the time being, it was better to rest here and observe. No problem, boss. Gu Xian quickly said. After hanging up, Lin Yi wasn't in a good mood, but he didn't show it in front of Yang Qiqi and Zhou. After all, it had been so many years since he left Island X, and it was rare for Lin Yi to come back. He just wanted to have fun with the two. At least, these few days on the island, Lin Yi found the feeling of his childhood. Su Shihan and Cheng Yi were also very fond of the island scenery. However, when they saw the teams of assassins undergoing strict training, they could guess how cruel and boring Lin Yi's childhood was. Brother Lin Yi, I want to eat mud fish. Can you help us catch some fish today? Young Qiqi missed the mud fish of her childhood. Of course, she didn't know whether it was because of her childhood or the life and death experience during the Heavenly Elixir sect trial. It was also during the Heavenly Elixir sect trial that Yang Qiqi and Lin Yi were able to recognize each other. This mud fish could be said to be a childhood memory, and it could also be said to be the matchmaker for the two. Therefore, Yang Qiqi had special feelings for it. Okay, I'll go now. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. This mud fish was also very particular in making it. It must be made with yellow mud from the river. Although the fish supplied on Island X could be used to make it, there was no mud, and the taste of wild fish and raised fish was also different. It's more dangerous over there. You guys don't need to go. I'll go alone. Lin Yi said to everyone. Although with Yang Qiqi and Cheng Yi's skills, there was still Jiu and Su Shihan. Lin Yi couldn't let them stay here, so he went alone. Okay, brother Lin Yi, be careful. Yang Qiqi said. She was also the owner of Island X, so naturally, she couldn't ignore the guests just because she wanted to go catch fish with Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded and quickly walked in the direction of the jungle of the back island. On the way, Lin Yi was filled with emotions. The familiar path, the familiar environment. However, he hadn't been back here for more than 10 years. Now, when Lin Yi walked this road, it was still as familiar as when he was a child. Coming to the river with ease, Lin Yi plunged into the river and began to catch fish. However, after Lin Yi caught a fish, he suddenly realized that he forgot to bring a bucket. It was okay to catch 1 or 2 fish, and he could carry it back directly. But there were so many people, and everyone's appetite was good. At least 10 or 20 fish had to be killed. Moreover, this fish was not big. How was Lin Yi going to take it back? Going back to get the bucket, Lin Yi didn't want to bother too much. Suddenly, Lin Yi had an idea. Didn't he have the space of the jade pendant? How good would it be to put the fish directly in it? Lin Yi had put food in the jade space before, but the food was still in the jade space. In other words, the state of the food was still the moment it was cooked. When he took it out, it was still hot and fresh. So, Lin Yi planned to put the live fish in the jade space. This way, if he brought it back, it would still be fresh. With that thought, Lin Yi wanted to put the fish in his hand into the jade space, but what surprised Lin Yi was that the fish was still in Lin Yi's hand. It didn't enter the jade space. This was the first time this had happened. Could it be that the jade space wasn't working? Lin Yi paused and subconsciously wanted to put the fish in his hand into the jade space again, but again, it failed. There was no fish in the jade space, and the fish in Lin Yi's hand didn't disappear. It's really strange. Lin Yi frowned and tried to use his mind to take out a spirit beast's chi inner pellet from the jade space. This chi inner pellet was successfully taken out from the jade space. Lin Yi moved his mind again and the chi inner pellet returned to the jade space again. In this way, it was certain that the jade space didn't fail, but something went wrong. Could it be that the thing that was put in was different? Jiao Lao, why can't I put my fish in the jade space? Lin Yi asked curiously. A living thing? Of course not, Elder Jiao said with a straight face. Living thing? Aren't you and I alive? Lin Yi was slightly stunned and asked. You and I are not in a normal state. Your spirit entered the jade space, and I'm almost the same. It's not a real body. Jiao Lao said, there is no oxygen here. How can a living thing survive in here? So that's the case. Can I only put the fish in the jade space after it's dead? Lin Yi thought about it and asked. Chapter 3281. Temporarily. Does that mean I can put living things in here in the future? Lin Yi heard something special in Jiao Lao's tone. I remember, after the jade space was upgraded, it had such a function. But your level is not high enough, the stone door is not open, and my memory is not fully recovered, so I can only say this much. Jiao Lao said. Oh. That is to say, even if I continue to refine the jade space, I will not be able to achieve this function. Lin Yi thought for a while and asked. Yes, if you continue to refine the jade space, you will only be able to expand the capacity of the jade space, but you will not be able to upgrade its function. Zhao Yazi said with certainty this time. All right. These few days, Lin Yi had planned to use the blue crystal and the remaining pure yellow jade and colored steel to refine the jade space. But now, it seemed that refining it would only expand the storage capacity of the jade space, and not change its function. This made Lin Yi a little disappointed, so he temporarily gave up the idea of refining it. Forget it, then I will use the remaining materials to refine the profound chi necklace. These few days, Lin Yi couldn't decide whether to continue refining the jade space or the profound chi necklace. Refining the jade space, Lin Yi was 90% sure. With his previous experience, he could make it 100% successful, but the profound chi necklace was different. Although the profound chi necklace could be made by a first-level yellow-class blacksmith, in Lin Yi's opinion, since the lowest-level blacksmith was the yellow-class blacksmith, since he could refine the jade space, he should be a yellow-class blacksmith. In theory, he could refine the profound chi necklace. Of course, this was just theory crafting. In reality, unexpected things could happen, and it wasn't something Lin Yi could control. There was a certain amount of risk involved, and if the materials were wasted, the necklace wouldn't be completed. Lin Yi's trip to the ocean would be a complete waste, and it wouldn't be worth it. But now, it seemed that it was better to refine the profound chi necklace. The jade space wasn't big, but it was enough for Lin Yi. Lin Yi couldn't carry everything around with him, and there was no need for that. Since the jade space couldn't hold live fish, Lin Yi had no choice but to take off his shirt and use it as a net in the water. He put all the fish into it and hung it by the river. After that, he went back to fishing, catching 20 fish in one breath. Only then did he carry his dripping shirt back to the lawn where he was chatting with Chi-Chi and the others. "Aw. Lin Yi bro, you're using your shirt to hold fish." Young Chi-Chi was a little surprised. Although Lin Yi's bare upper body made her blush a little, the two had lived together since young, and she was used to it. Su Shihan and Ching Yi, on the other hand, lived in Lin Yi's villa. It was inevitable that Lin Yi would wear a little less, but he had never worn so little. The two were a little shy, but because they liked Lin Yi, they didn't scream. Little Nine, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi's muscles with interest. "Lin Yi bro, I didn't think that your body is so good now." "Sigh, I'm afraid that my body is the worst here." Little Nine's words made Lin Yi pause. But looking at Little Nine's skinny body, Lin Yi felt pain in his heart. Yes, all these years, he had been avoiding Little Nine, but he had neglected her feelings. Little Nine was different from normal people. She could only sit in a wheelchair, and she didn't exercise. Her body was very thin, and even after so many years, she was still like a little girl. Her chest and whatnot were very developed. "Little Nine, you are." Lin Yi looked at Su Shihan and Ching Yi, but he didn't hide it. These two, Lin Yi could trust them. "You're an inheritor. When you become a practitioner, not only will your body be very good, but your strength will also be higher than mine." "Ah, yes, fortunately I have this opportunity." Little Nine smiled. Going to the Yellow Earth High Sect was her opportunity, but it was also a challenge. The future had become uncertain. "Not long after, I will leave. My brother, Tu Ba Wang, will come to pick me up." "Lin Yi bro, will you send me off?" I will." Lin Yi nodded without hesitation. Although there were a lot of troubles on Lin Yi's body, and the balance between him and the ancient sects could be broken at any time, but Lin Yi also knew that this farewell, he didn't know when he could see Little Nine again. Lin Yi must send her off. "I'm just saying, Lin Yi bro, you don't have to send me off. I know it's not easy for you to come overseas. The Overseas Cultivators Association is currently your enemy." Little Nine shook her head and didn't wait for Lin Yi to speak before saying, "Okay, let's make some mud fish." Lin Yi was silent for a moment, but he didn't say anything, but he had already made up his mind. Now, although Lin Yi's strength was at the peak of the early phase of the heaven rank, he could truly kill a peak mid-heaven rank expert. When Lin Yi was at the early phase of the heaven rank, although he couldn't instantly kill Dongfang Jian, he could still get rid of him when he was injured. Now that Lin Yi was at the peak of the early phase of the heaven rank, he could naturally kill a peak mid-heaven rank expert. As for whether he could kill a peak late heaven rank expert, it was still unknown. At present, Lin Yi had only fought with He Tianzu, a peak late heaven rank expert. He could only injure him, but he couldn't kill him. But he hadn't fought a peak late heaven rank expert yet. However, Lin Yi believed that if the Essence Necklace's records were true, he would be able to increase his strength by a whole level after wearing the Essence Necklace. Whether it was his offensive or defensive abilities, they would all increase correspondingly. In other words, after wearing the Essence necklace, Lin Yi would be equivalent to a peak mid-heaven rank expert. And at that time, it would be very easy for Lin Yi to instantly kill a peak late heaven rank expert. This way, Lin Yi's strength had increased yet again, and he had more cards up his sleeves. He wouldn't be caught off guard when he returned. Of course, facing a Sky-class late-phase peak, Lin Yi might not be able to win, but he would be able to heavily injure them if he caught them off guard. He Tianzu wouldn't be lightly injured. Thus, this Essence necklace seemed to be an important thing. Chapter 3282. Secondly, he needed to get himself to Sky-class mid-phase as soon as possible. If he was Sky-class mid-phase, then the necklace would be like adding wings to a tiger. With that in mind, Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi. Shao Qi, can you get a Qi gathering pill? Qi gathering pill. Chi-Chi paused. Lin Yi bro, you need it. But, doesn't it say that you won't be able to level up on your own after eating it? Young Chi-Chi wasn't a spiritual practitioner, but she had some basic knowledge. I'm a little special, I can level up after eating it. Lin Yi didn't hide it, it wasn't a secret, after all. Everyone around Lin Yi knew about it. Shao Qi, doesn't the association provide free pills to their members? Do you have the right to get one? Lin Yi turned his attention to the association. If Tang Yuqi could get a Qi gathering pill from the association, then Chi-Chi should be able to as well, right? As long as you're a member of the association, you have the right to get one. As long as your strength reaches the corresponding level, you can apply for it. Chi-Chi explained, but I'm a physical practitioner, there's no way I can get a Qi gathering pill. That's fine, you can practice both internal and external. Lin Yi said, if your spiritual strength reaches Earth-class late-phase peak, then would you be able to get a Qi gathering pill? That's for sure. Chi-Chi said with certainty, but after receiving it, if you successfully break through to Sky class, you'll have to become an elder of the association. It's impossible for you to leave the association like Tang Yuqi did. There are pros and cons to this, too. It's free, but it's still like selling your body. Chi-Chi said with certainty. What if you don't succeed? Lin Yi asked. After all, a Qi gathering pill could allow an Earth-class late-phase peak to break through to Sky-class early phase, but it wasn't 100% success, there was a chance of failure, just a small one. If you don't succeed, you can apply for it again half a year later, but that's your last chance. Chi-Chi said, there have been failures in the association, but they all succeeded the second time. I see. Then can you help me apply for a Qi gathering pill? Lin Yi was a little excited after hearing Chi-Chi's words, this was what he wanted. It wasn't realistic for Lin Yi to rely on Kong Ming Ming's pill, especially now that Lin Yi's true strength was exposed. A snobbish person like Kong Ming Ming wouldn't care about him at all, so Lin Yi had to think on his own. But it sounds easy, but it's very difficult. My father left me a spiritual practitioner's arts, but I still put all my effort into it. I don't have any foundation for it at all. Chi-Chi smiled bitterly, even if I start training now, I don't know when I'll be able to reach Earth-class late-phase peak. Lin Yi bro, I'm afraid I won't be able to help you with this. Haha, don't worry, we can start now. Lin Yi smiled, do you remember the spiritual practitioner's arts? Can you recite it? If you can, we can start now. Now? What do you mean, train here? Chi-Chi's eyes were wide, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. Yes, now, but I'll be the one helping you. Lin Yi said, I can help other people level up quickly. It's just that we parted in a hurry last time, so I didn't get the chance to help you. This is a good chance. You'll help me level up. Chi-Chi was even more shocked. Lin Yi bro, you're saying that you can help me level up to Earth-class late-phase peak? That's right, that's it. Lin Yi nodded, all you need to do is practice the arts, leave the rest to me. Really? Chi-Chi was a little surprised, but she still said, but, there's no rush. If I become an Earth-class late-phase peak right now, even the association would start suspecting me. I need to take it step by step, so it's best for me to level up to Earth-class early phase now. I'll show up at the association and let them prepare themselves. You're right. Lin Yi nodded solemnly. He'd only considered the possibility of getting a chi-gathering pill from the association, but he didn't consider the possibility of the association suspecting Chi-Chi. Of course, if Chi-Chi could level up step by step, that was something the association would be happy to see as well. After all, one more master meant one more power. They wouldn't have gone to all that trouble to keep Tang Yuqi around. And so, as long as he did it right, getting 2 chi-gathering pills wasn't impossible. But the second pill had to be given to Chi-Chi herself, or the association would definitely suspect something. Chi-Chi had leveled up so quickly before, and that was enough to show that she was quite talented. If she didn't level up after 1 or 2, then there would be a problem. Lin Yi wouldn't need to be afraid of the association if he took 2 chi-gathering pills, but Lin Yi couldn't stay overseas for long, could he? Chi-Chi's base was overseas, too, and Lin Yi didn't want to cause trouble for her. Then I'll raise you to Earth-class early phase first. Lin Yi nodded. Alright, I just need to chant the practitioner's arts, right? Chi-Chi asked. Yes, leave the rest to me. Lin Yi said. As long as he didn't forcefully compress his chi to break through, then his clothes wouldn't explode. Lin Yi didn't have to worry about Chi-Chi running around naked. Chi-Chi started chanting, and Lin Yi grabbed her wrist and started chanting as well. Under everyone's curious gaze, Lin Yi's chi flowed into Chi-Chi's body. Shihan and Cheng Yi, on the other hand, were a bit weaker. After all, they had already witnessed Lin Yi's miraculous power back at the orphanage. However, it was still a little shocking for someone who had no spiritual training whatsoever to rise all the way to Earth-class early phase. Chapter 3283. If Lin Yi could mass-produce Sky-class masters, then who in the ancient world would be a match for Lin Yi? Cheng Yi was glad that she made the choice. Otherwise, she would have to follow Feng Tianhu to the end. Nothing good would come out of that, right? Little Nine was shocked as well. She and Lin Yi had been separated for so many years, but they had always kept in contact. She thought that she understood Lin Yi's situation very well, but it seemed that she didn't understand Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi had a lot of miraculous things that she didn't even know about. When did he get these miraculous abilities? Of course, the one who was the most shocked was young Chi-Chi herself. She channeled her practitioner's arts and felt that her strength was growing like a force-fed duck. From a physical practitioner without any spiritual foundation, she rose all the way to early phase of golden class, and it was still growing. Early phase of golden class, early phase of golden class, peak. All the way to early phase of earth class, young Chi-Chi felt like she was dreaming. In such a short period of time, she went from nothing to something. Her strength had such a huge increase. This completely overturned young Chi-Chi's understanding of practitioners. Based on her previous understanding, which cultivation expert did not take one step at a time to get to where he was now? There had never been anyone who could become an Earth-class early-phase master in just one afternoon without any inner strength. This was probably one of a kind, wasn't it? Everyone present, other than Su Shihan, felt the change in young Chi-Chi's strength. Because young Chi-Chi was channeling her practitioner's arts, her strength was directly exposed. Little Nine didn't have much strength, but he'd been exposed to practitioning when he was young, so he could still recognize a practitioner's aura. Cheng Yi, on the other hand, was quite shocked as well. How did Chi-Chi become the same as her in the blink of an eye? Cheng Yi felt the urge to cry. One had to know that it wasn't easy for her to get to where she was right now. She'd been trained by Feng Tianhu since she was young, and all she did was train and train. That was how she got to where she was today. But look at young Chi-Chi, she'd become an Earth-class early phase the moment she got close to Lin Yi. Am I dreaming? Young Chi-Chi's question was what everyone else wanted to ask. You can go to the association now and announce the news. As for the reason, you'll have to figure it out yourself, I don't really know much about the overseas world. Lin Yi said to Chi-Chi. Yeah, I know, I'll just say that my family told me to keep it a secret, but I've hit a bottleneck at Earth class, so I'm here to look for some resources. Chi-Chi said, finding an excuse very quickly. After all, her family was different from other practitioners. It was reasonable for them to have this rule. The association wouldn't say much. Alright, get moving then. I'll continue to help you when you get back. Lin Yi said. Yes, I'll go tomorrow. Chi-Chi nodded. Lin Yi was about to get up when he raised his head to see the envious Cheng Yi beside Chi-Chi. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that this girl wanted him to help her level up as well, but she was too embarrassed to ask. I'll help you level up to Earth class late phase peak too. Lin Yi had gone from being wary of Cheng Yi to trusting her now. Lin Yi could feel that Cheng Yi liked him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have betrayed Feng Tianhu. After all, Feng Tianhu still had her brother's trump card. Now that Lin Yi had revealed his true strength, Cheng Yi couldn't put all her hopes on Lin Yi anymore. Cheng Yi still supported Lin Yi. This touched Lin Yi. At the very least, Cheng Yi was sincere. She wasn't just trying to get on his good side. She wanted him to save her brother. Cheng Yi froze after hearing Lin Yi's words. Actually, back in the orphanage, Cheng Yi had wanted Lin Yi to help her get stronger, but she was too embarrassed to ask. Their relationship wasn't that good back then, and she didn't succeed in seducing Lin Yi. She gave up. After all, she knew that the relationship between her and Lin Yi wasn't as good as it seemed on the surface. Perhaps Lin Yi was still guarding against her, but she didn't think that Lin Yi would take the initiative to bring this matter up. Cheng Yi, of course, didn't know that her loyalty to Lin Yi had earned her a good impression from Lin Yi. She thought that Lin Yi was being nice. Really? Cheng Yi was at a loss. She looked at Lin Yi and couldn't believe it. Of course it's true. You're one of us now. It's reasonable for me to help you get stronger. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, okay, let's begin. Oh. Cheng Yi saw that Lin Yi was so straightforward, so she didn't hesitate anymore. She reached out her hand and handed it to Lin Yi, and so, under everyone's numb gazes, Lin Yi raised Cheng Yi's strength to Earth class late phase peak as well. At night, Lin Yi didn't care about Chi-Chi and Cheng Yi's excitement, he greeted everyone and went into isolation to study the Essence Necklace. He took out the Essence Necklace book from the Jade Space and flipped through it carefully. He'd read it once when he first started forming the Forging Fire. The Golden Class Blacksmith's practitioner's arts were too hard to practice, so he'd given up on it for now. But now, Lin Yi was familiar with the Jade Space, and the Essence Necklace only required a Golden Class Blacksmith. As far as Lin Yi was concerned, if he could create a Jade Space, he should be able to create an Essence Necklace as well. Lin Yi continued reading the refining method. The basic requirement for condensing is a blacksmith. Blacksmith? Lin Yi smiled. It had been a headache for Lin Yi when he first got the book, but now, Lin Yi could give it a try. Life really was unpredictable. Many things could be solved with the passage of time. Then, he continued to read, base material required for refining, a piece of high-grade jade pendant. Chapter 3284. Jiao Lao, it's written here that a jade pendant is required to refine a profound chi necklace. I wonder if my jade pendant can be used for refining. Lin Yi asked. It was better to ask Zhao Yazi about this kind of thing. Lin Yi didn't dare to make a decision on his own. Of course it can. Zhao Yazi didn't play dumb this time. Instead, he said with certainty, from the refining method, a small space in the jade pendant was expanded to store the 5 spiritual chi inner elixirs. Therefore, your jade pendant won't be damaged. You can refine it without worry. Even if you don't succeed, the jade pendant won't be damaged. At most, your spiritual chi inner elixir will be destroyed. It's painful to have my spiritual chi inner elixir destroyed. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Lin Yi had spent a lot of effort to collect these 5 spiritual chi inner elixirs. Lin Yi would be very sad if they were destroyed just like that. It's better than having my jade pendant destroyed, isn't it? Jiao Lao asked with a smile. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. After preparing the 5 spiritual chi inner elixirs, pure topaz, blue crystal, and colored steel, Lin Yi took a deep breath and started to refine the profound chi necklace. Although the jade pendant wouldn't be damaged if it wasn't refined successfully, all the materials would be destroyed. Lin Yi had spent a lot of effort to collect these materials. For this blue crystal, Lin Yi almost lost his life. Therefore, it was impossible for him to be careless. After carefully reading the instructions of the profound chi necklace several times, Lin Yi carefully placed the colored steel, pure topaz, and blue crystal in a certain proportion on the ground. Then, he took off the jade pendant on his neck. Before making the necklace, Lin Yi once again read the instructions on how to condense the profound chi necklace several times. Of course, the instructions were relatively simple, not much different from condensing the space inside the jade pendant, but there were a few more steps. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the experience of successfully condensing the jade pendant space in one try, so this time he could successfully condense it. The first step of condensing was exactly the same as condensing the space inside the jade pendant. Of course, what Lin Yi used was also the mantra he used to condense the space inside the jade pendant, not the mantra he used to condense the profound chi necklace. Because the mnemonic chant was too complicated, Lin Yi didn't have the confidence to learn it, nor did he want to try. Fortunately, the beginning of the condensation was very smooth. It was the same feeling as the first time Lin Yi condensed the space in the jade pendant. Lin Yi's hands kept condensing the forging fire, and from time to time, he also needed to use his hands to change the shape of the auxiliary materials, and then fuse them with the jade pendant. After repeating this several times in a certain amount of time, he finally reached the most important step, which was completely different from condensing the space inside the jade pendant. Because the space needed for the 5 profound chi inner elixirs was very small, it didn't take much time and materials. Previously, when Lin Yi was at home, it took him 3 days to condense the space inside the jade pendant, but now, it only took him less than a day to enter the second step. The second step was to fuse the profound chi inner elixirs into the space inside the jade pendant. Although Lin Yi had 7 profound chi inner elixirs, 1 was given by Go Huli's lion, 2 were obtained in the Wulonghout mountain range, 1 was given by the Qian mountain sect, 1 was given by the ghost, 1 was exchanged with a heaven stage cultivator in the cultivator's market, and the last one was picked up by the Sky Thunder Pig in the Heavenly Elixir Sex trial. However, among them, the profound chi inner elixir given by the ghost was obviously very different from the other profound chi inner elixirs. Moreover, the ghost didn't let him use it, so it wasn't appropriate for Lin Yi to use it casually. As for the remaining 6, he could use them to make the profound chi necklace. However, Lin Yi only prepared 5, and kept the extra 1 first. Lin Yi was afraid that he would fail this time and lose 6 profound chi inner elixirs at once, so he kept one as a backup. If he succeeded, it wouldn't be too late to make another one in the future. This step was actually the most difficult one, because not only did he have to put the 5 profound chi inner elixirs into the space of the jade pendant, he had to fix them at a certain point in the space of the jade pendant, so that the 5 profound chi inner elixirs could form a cycle of 5 elements, and each of them could be fixed at its own supporting point in the space of the jade pendant, without any deviation at all. However, in fact, Lin Yi had a great advantage. Other blacksmiths didn't have the same connection with the jade pendant as Lin Yi did. That was to say, when a blacksmith put the profound chi inner elixir into the space of the jade pendant, it was completely based on his feeling and proficiency. Whether it could be successfully fixed at the supporting point or not depended entirely on luck. If it was unsuccessful, it would be a waste of a profound chi inner elixir. This profound chi inner elixir, which couldn't be fixed at the supporting point, couldn't be taken out of the space of the jade pendant, and could only be discarded. However, Lin Yi was different. To Lin Yi's surprise, not only could he see the scene in the space of the jade pendant, but for the first time, Lin Yi could actually take out the profound chi inner elixir from the space of the jade pendant after it was not fixed at the supporting point. This was also because the way to refine the small space was the same as the way to refine the space of the jade pendant. Of course, Lin Yi could also use his consciousness to control the space of the jade pendant. In this way, Lin Yi's work was much easier. If he couldn't place it properly, he could place it again. Although it was a little slow, he succeeded every time. Lin Yi simply put the remaining 6 profound chi inner elixir on the supporting point of the fire attribute. Every time he added an profound chi inner elixir of a spirit beast, the probability of increasing defense and attack would be higher. When Lin Yi put the profound chi inner elixir on the supporting point of the fire attribute, it meant that when Lin Yi used the fire attribute martial arts, the probability of making the move more powerful would be higher, and the probability of defending against the fire attribute attack would also be higher. When the supporting points of the 5 elements were fixed, adding the profound chi inner elixir on any of the supporting points would improve the ability of the corresponding attribute. This made Lin Yi very excited. Unexpectedly, all the 6 profound chi inner elixirs were successfully integrated. 5 days were spent nervously in the refining process. Lin Yi was very nervous. He followed the instructions step by step and carried out the operation step by step. However, the heavens did not disappoint those who worked hard. Finally, on the evening of the 5th day, Lin Yi completed all the refining steps. Looking at the jade pendant in front of him, which had returned to its original appearance, Lin Yi also slowly put away the forging fire. The profound chi necklace was finally refined successfully. Chapter 3285. Previously, it was written in the instructions that this essence chi necklace had a 30% chance of increasing the power of defense and attack. However, after adding an essence chi niden, it could increase the chance of fire attribute by 50%. In the future, adding an essence chi niden would increase the chance by 20%, and so on. A 50% chance didn't necessarily mean that he'd be able to increase his attack and defense, but it was still much, much stronger than before, and Lin Yi was very satisfied. Lin Yi didn't bother testing the necklace. He hung it around his neck and walked out of the room. In these 5 days, no one had bothered Lin Yi, but Lin Yi was worried about young Chi-Chi the most. He didn't know how she was doing. In theory, young Chi-Chi's trip to the association shouldn't be dangerous, but who knew if Lua would do anything after that incident with the red conch. Fortunately, when Lin Yi came out of the room, he saw young Chi-Chi, Little Nine, Su Shihan, and Qing Yi chatting about something. When they saw Lin Yi come out, they shut their mouths at the same time. Evidently, the topic was related to Lin Yi. But Lin Yi didn't have the mood to gossip. He let out a breath of relief when he saw that young Chi-Chi was safe. Xiao Qi, you've been to the association. How was it? Yeah, I came back 2 days ago. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, was quite relaxed. The people from the association were quite surprised that I'm an Earth-class early-phase practitioner, but considering the special nature of my family, they didn't think too much about it. But I could tell that the elders were quite happy about it. After all, I didn't need any training resources to get to Earth-class early phase. It wasn't easy at all. With talent like this, there's a chance for me to break through to Sky class. Lin Yi nodded. It seemed that there was a reason why young Chi-Chi was doing so well overseas. At least, from what Lin Yi saw, young Chi-Chi wasn't as useless as she was when he first met her. Perhaps young Chi-Chi's level of experience was different from his. As long as they didn't suspect you. No, they didn't. After all, I didn't hide my strength from them, so they were very happy. Chi-Chi shook her head. They understand me, and they even gave me a few chi-gathering pills as training resources. Oh. It seems that the Overseas Cultivators Association is quite generous. Lin Yi could not help but sigh. The Overseas Cultivators Association treated their members very well. If it wasn't for their overbearing style, they could have been friends. However, Luodu's patriarchal style was difficult to accept. The Overseas Cultivators Association isn't a sect with a deep foundation. Everyone who joins the association is like a customer of the sect. If there's no benefit, why would we gather people together? Chi-Chi said. Everyone will only stay in the association if they get a taste of the sweetness. Lin Yi couldn't help but nod after hearing that. Indeed, the Overseas Cultivators Association was more like a group of experts recruited by clans rather than a large sect that had disciples to pass on. An organization like this that was developed in a short period of time still had its flaws. Did you see Luodu this time? Lin Yi asked. No, I heard that he's in isolation. He won't be coming out for a while, but this kind of thing doesn't need the chairman to do it. The elders can make the decision. Chi-Chi said. Lin Yi was taken aback. He wanted to ask how Luodu was doing. After all, Lin Yi left after setting up a trap, and he didn't know if Luodu would fall for it. He wanted to get some information about Luodu through Chi-Chi, but who would have thought that he'd be in isolation? What did that mean? Was the deal a success or a failure? What was he doing in isolation? But these were secrets that Lin Yi couldn't tell Chi-Chi about. He could only let it go and continue helping Chi-Chi get to Earth-class late-phase peak. In actuality, Luodu didn't go into isolation at all. He was heavily injured, and he was recovering in a secret room. After all, what good could come out of a fight between two Sky-class late-phase peak masters? It was either one of them die or the other survive. The best outcome would be for both of them to be heavily injured, and this was the best-case scenario. After coming back, Luodu laid on his sickbed. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something wasn't right. He wasn't an idiot, it was fine if he was impulsive at the time, but after thinking about it, there were a lot of suspicious points. Luodan thought about it again and again. There was no doubt that he had brought a suitcase of money with him. Not to mention that he had been carrying the suitcase. Even if the suitcase was around him, with his current strength, it would be impossible for him to take the money from the suitcase under his nose. As for swapping, that was even more impossible. Luonan also carefully looked at the suitcase after he came back, and there was no doubt that it was his. There was no possibility of swapping, but how could the money just disappear into thin air? What the hell? Plus, that Songshan orphanage was something Luodu had never heard of in his life. He really did think that Red Conch was trying to scam him with a fake account, but after thinking about it, he realized that Red Conch wasn't crazy. If they wanted to scam money, they could just scam someone else. Those drug dealers had money, so why would they scam him, the head of the association? Even an idiot would know that he wasn't someone to mess with, and this guy was using such a stupid method to scam him. It didn't seem possible. As far as Heartwarming was concerned, the money could be scammed any way they wanted. There was no need to get it from him. Besides, this wasn't a one-time deal, and they would have to work together again in the future. It wasn't like Red Conch hadn't seen money before. While Heartwarming realized that something was wrong, the general manager also realized that something was wrong. After all, he felt that there was no need for Heartwarming to put on such a show. He brought an empty box to trade, and then entered his account to transfer the money. Wasn't this just looking for trouble? What was the point of coming to Red Conch's headquarters and doing this kind of low-level scam? Did he think that he could get the drugs? The result was a lose-lose situation, and no one got the upper hand. So the CEO felt that unless Heartwarming had nothing better to do, he wouldn't do such a meaningless thing. Chapter 3286. However, after asking for a long time, it didn't seem to be done by Fanny. So, he thought of another very important person, Secretary Lou. However, when he called Secretary Lou over to interrogate him, he got a shocking news. Secretary Lou, during the time of the transaction between the general manager and Heartwarming, actually fainted in the bathroom. Secretary Lou didn't think that it was a big deal. He thought that he was too tired from work and fell asleep in the bathroom. He didn't think that he was plotted against because he didn't feel anything at all. Therefore, he didn't report it to the general manager immediately after it happened. Although the general manager didn't particularly believe Secretary Lou's words, when he retrieved the company surveillance video that day, he found a shocking secret. In the video, there were actually two Secretary Lou, and the other one entered the company later, and he hid in the bathroom as soon as he came in. Later, the real Secretary Lou entered the bathroom. Although he didn't know what happened, soon after, Secretary Lou walked out of the bathroom, went straight upstairs, and went to the general manager's office. After that, it was what happened later. After Secretary Lou gave the laptop to Heartwarming, this Secretary Lou went downstairs again and entered the bathroom. Not long after, the Secretary Lou, who wore the company's uniform, walked out of the bathroom, then went downstairs and left the company. All of this showed that there were indeed two Secretary Lou, and the Secretary Lou who entered the office to help the general manager and president, he was probably the fake one. This discovery made the general manager a little speechless. It was really a great calculation, but he still failed miserably. The opponent completely took advantage of an unexpected loophole. He didn't expect that the opponent could turn into Secretary Lou, and it was exactly the same, so that he couldn't find any flaws. Of course, he didn't think of this at the time. If he thought of it and looked at Lin Yi carefully, he would definitely find some differences. After all, the appearance could be disguised, but there were still subtle differences in height and figure. This couldn't be made up for. The same was true for the voice. No matter how similar the disguise was, it was just a disguise. If one listened carefully, they would definitely find the difference. However, the general manager didn't think that Secretary Lou would be impersonated. Seeing this, the general manager knew that both Fanny and Secretary Lou were innocent. The two of them were also unwitting victims. The main culprit was that fake Secretary Lou who had appeared out of nowhere. Fanny, retrieve the company's surveillance footage from the past few days. Take a closer look and see if there are any suspicious characters. The general manager instructed Fanny, Secretary Lou, go take a look as well. See if you have any recollection of it. Yes, my boss, Fanny quickly replied. Secretary Lou also nodded in agreement. The two of them left the general manager's office and went to the surveillance room to check the video. However, in terms of suspicious characters, besides the Yi Ling, who came the day before, there were no other suspicious people. The others were basically old customers. They all had historical cooperation, so they were excluded. Only this Yi Ling's identity was extremely suspicious. He claimed to be the purchasing manager of the Buffon family's hotel group. In reality, there was no such person at all. Secretary Liu also had a very deep impression of him. Fanny, take a screenshot of Yi Ling and the person who impersonated me and compare them. Secretary Liu said. Okay, little Liu, are you suspecting this Yi Ling? Fanny quickly operated. Her computer skills were not bad. She easily took a screenshot of the two people's images. Yes, I suspect that this person is the person who impersonated me. He is the most suspicious. Secretary Liu nodded. Fanny took a screenshot of the two people's images. After comparing them, she realized that other than the difference in appearance, the two people were shockingly similar in terms of body and height. These two people were practically the same person. It's him. Secretary Liu slammed the table and stood up. He said with certainty. I'll report to the general manager now. Fanny quickly stood up and went to find the general manager. This was also a good opportunity to clear her name. Otherwise, although the general manager felt that it was someone else who did it, she and Secretary Liu would still be a little suspicious. Very soon, the general manager who received the news ran over. When he saw the comparison images on the computer screen, he frowned. He was now 100% sure that he had been tricked. However, what was Yi Ling's identity? Looking at Yi Ling's appearance, he should be Asian. President He of the Overseas Cultivators Association was also Asian. Then, could there be any connection between the two? It was no wonder that the general manager was suspicious. After all, this incident happened too coincidentally. This transaction with the Overseas Cultivators Association was only known by him, Fanny, Secretary Liu, Liu Te, and a few other core people. Then, there was only He Luodan himself. This Yi Ling obviously knew the news in advance. On the first day, he came to survey the terrain. On the second day, when it was time for the transaction, he directly came to the general manager's office to do something. If this person wasn't He Luodan's man, even the general manager himself felt that things couldn't be so coincidental. Give me the phone, I want to talk to He Luodan. Although the general manager's injury hadn't healed, after taking the recover pill, he was more or less recovered. He could still move around in the wheelchair, but it was a little inconvenient for him to take the phone. Okay. Fanny quickly passed the phone to the general manager. At that moment, the general manager's only thought was to question He Luodan and ask him if he was the one behind this scene. The phone was quickly connected. He Luodan's angry voice came from the other side of the phone. What do you want? What do you want? I can tell you that I have investigated the matter clearly. I have the surveillance video as proof. Don't say that this person wasn't sent by you. There is no such coincidence in this world. The general manager scolded him. What are you talking about? Who was sent by me? What surveillance video? Are you crazy? Why, do you think that I wanted to cheat you of your drugs? Is there something wrong with me? Did I cheat you of your drugs? He Luodan coldly snorted. Chapter 3287. Let's see. He Luodu's phone indicated that he had received an email, so he hung up the phone and opened the email. However, when He Luodu saw it, his expression instantly became incomparably horrified. Lin Yi. Why did this kid actually appear in the Red Conch headquarters? And on the day of the transaction, the Secretary Liu that came was Lin Yi's impersonation. This video had been clearly recorded by Fanny, so Luodu didn't have to spend much effort at all. It was clear at a glance. However, Luodu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did the general manager treat Lin Yi as his own person? Luodu dialed the general manager's phone number again. Before he could speak, the general manager questioned him, "How is it? Did you catch him red-handed? You didn't expect me to have such a strict recording here, and our analysis and reasoning are also very exquisite, right? Do you dare to say that this person isn't from your Overseas Cultivators Association?" "Wait a minute." Luodu interrupted the general manager's words impatiently and said coldly, "First of all, I want to state one thing. I know this person, but he is definitely not from our Overseas Cultivators Association." "You know him? Not from your Overseas Cultivators Association?" The general manager snorted, "Can't you say something more convincing?" "Don't interrupt me first. What I want to say is that this person is not only your enemy, but also mine. His name is Lin Yi, and he once killed an elder of our Overseas Cultivators Association. A few days ago, he was chased by our Overseas Cultivators Association. This isn't a secret. You can ask around and you will know the details." Nuclear Luodu said. "Really?" The general manager was slightly stunned. The name Lin Yi seemed a bit familiar. Where did I hear it before? Of course it's true, and I understand what you mean. Don't you think that I sent someone to scout ahead and then do some tricks to cheat you of your drugs? Luodu asked. Yes, why? The general manager was slightly stunned. Then why do I have to do this? I can just carry the empty box and change my account. Why do I need to send another person? Isn't it unnecessary? Moreover, this is simply not feasible. Luonan said, "Do you think I need to do this?" This. The general manager thought about it. What Luodan said was very reasonable. He had previously made a mistake, thinking that Ling was Luodan's man. But now that he thought about it carefully, Luodan did not need to do that. Moreover, whether Ling's name was Lin Yi or not, whether he was an enemy of the Overseas Cultivators Association, the general managers only needed to investigate and the truth would soon be revealed. Alright, I'll go and investigate. If this matter is really a misunderstanding, then I'll give you the drugs in this transaction as an apology. The general manager was straightforward. After all, the trading site was his company. If there was a problem, it could only be his own problem. He could still afford to lose. Oh. Thank you very much. I'll be waiting for your good news. Luodan didn't expect the general manager to be this easygoing. It surprised him a little, and his heavy heart felt a lot better now. Also, what made him feel relieved was that Lin Yi and Yang Qiqi really had nothing to do with each other. Lin Yi didn't even look for Yang Qiqi. Instead, he escaped to Ruilei town, and somehow heard about the deal between Luodan and Red Conches, and went to cause trouble. Luodan didn't think that Lin Yi was after Red Conches. He thought that Lin Yi was after him. After all, he had just started a feud with Lin Yi, and no matter how he thought about it, Lin Yi was after him. How could it be so coincidental? Therefore, thinking of this, Luodu felt a little apologetic. Although the box of money was lost in the Red Conch group, and the transfer was also a mistake, it wasn't the Red Conch group's fault. This way, he might have lost 2 portions of money and gotten 1 portion of drugs, but it was a very balanced situation. After all, Red Conches was dragged into this mess because of Lin Yi. After the general manager hung up, he told Fanny to investigate Lin Yi's case. This was quite easy to investigate. Fanny called Dafeng Bro, the person in charge of the domestic headquarters. Dafeng, it's Fanny, Fanny said after picking up. Ah, it's Assistant Fanny. Hello, what can I do for you? Doffing Bro was Lin Yi's man, but he was still very respectful towards Fanny on the surface. After all, Fanny was his direct superior. It's like this, there's a person called Lin Yi. Do you know him? Fanny got straight to the point. Lin Yi? I know him. I've reported this person to the headquarters before. He's the boss behind Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and advisor Zhuge had a conflict with him before. He killed him. You told me not to mess with strong domestic practitioners like him. Doffing Bro didn't know what Fanny was talking about, and why she was asking about Lin Yi, but he didn't dare to say anything. Oh. Lin Yi. It's him. Fanny was startled. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be Red Conch's enemy. He was the one who killed advisor Zhuge. Zheng Wen also said that Red Conches and the Fire Wolves had a deep grudge with Lin Yi. Alright, I got it. Fanny didn't ask any more questions. It was enough that she knew who Lin Yi was. He was an unconventional practitioner in Huaxia, and she didn't need to ask to know that he had nothing to do with the association. He Luonan wasn't stupid enough to send a practitioner to cause trouble in Huaxia. If people found out about this, they'd definitely boycott him. He'd be digging his own grave. So, after Fanny heard about this, she immediately went to the general manager and told him about the situation. What? Fuck, it's that Lin Yi again. The general manager found the name familiar. Now, he finally remembered who Lin Yi was. So this kid was one of Red Conch's enemies. Lin Yi, Ling, playing such a trick, this kid is really cunning. In that case, this kid is here to cause trouble for our Red Conch headquarters. Very likely. Fanny nodded and guessed. Chapter 3288. Yeah, what should we do now? Issue a wanted order to kill Lin Yi. Fanny thought about it and asked. That's definitely not possible. Even the Overseas Cultivators Association can't do anything about Lin Yi. Where can we find Lin Yi? Forget it, let's not get involved in this matter. With Doffing's ability, going to trouble Lin Yi is equivalent to courting death. The general manager waved his hand and said. Then this matter. Let's just let it go. Fanny was a little unwilling to be fooled. Let's forget it for the time being. The general manager shook his head and said, our current business is only drug trafficking. Our strength is not as good as the Fire Wolf gang. Let's report this matter truthfully to the higher-ups and let the behind-the-scenes boss decide. Ah. You mean that Miss Lawn? Fanny was surprised and her face changed slightly. The general manager nodded slowly. Some things were beyond the scope of his decision. Naturally, he wouldn't force himself. Fanny was very tactful. She knew that when the general manager called Miss Lawn, she'd better avoid it. This was the rule of the Red Conch. After Fanny left, the general manager dialed Miss Lan's phone. What's the matter? Miss Lawn quickly picked up the phone. It's like this. The general manager truthfully reported the matter of Lin Yi and he looked to Miss Lawn. Lin Yi? I understand. Miss Lawn frowned. It was Lin Yi again. This guy really knew how to cause trouble. However, Miss Lan's mind wasn't on Lin Yi. In fact, for her, the Fire Wolf gang and the Red Conch were just byproducts. Her ultimate goal was to find a person. This was the most important thing. Hearing that Miss Lawn didn't make any comments and replies on this matter, the general manager didn't dare to ask more. After hanging up the phone, he dialed Luta's phone again. President He, I'm sorry. I have already investigated. This matter was indeed done by that Lin Yi, so my previous promise is valid. I will send the drugs over. The general manager said. In fact, the general manager already felt that he owed a lot, but Luda didn't explain this matter, so he pretended not to know. Oh. Okay, thank you very much. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. Both of them thought that Lin Yi was targeting them, so they didn't hesitate on this matter. They both thought that they had taken advantage of him. Of course, it was not that the two did not want to seek revenge on Lin Yi, but they did not have the opportunity for the time being. Miss Lan, who was behind the scenes of the general manager, did not say anything, and Luda was now seriously injured. If he wanted revenge, he could only choose the right time. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was waiting for Chi-Chi's chi-gathering pill after crafting the necklace. Chi-Chi didn't go to the association right away, she waited for half a month before appearing at the association again. This time, young Chi-Chi appeared as an Earth-class late-phase peak. Be it the elders of the association or Chairman He, both of them were shocked. They never realized that young Chi-Chi was a practitioner genius. Young Chi-Chi, you're already an Earth-class late-phase peak. Luda looked at Chi-Chi, a little shocked. He was glad that he didn't make things difficult for Chi-Chi because of Lin Yi. Otherwise, Chi-Chi would have left the association already. Putting aside the question of whether or not Chi-Chi's background had the ability to get her to leave, Chi-Chi's family was huge overseas, different from Tang Yuqi's. If Chi-Chi wanted to leave, President He wouldn't be able to treat her like Tang Yuqi. Plus, Luda had received some news from his brother, the Xianchen ancestor. Chi-Chi's sister, Little Nine, could very well be an Earth element inheritor called Tu Ran Ran. After all, the Xianchen ancestor was the one in charge of the inheritors and the Sky-class island project. Even if the Yellow Earth sect was a sect in the West, they couldn't avoid the Xianchen ancestor if they wanted to participate in the Sky-class island project. They could only tell him about the inheritors. And that was how the news reached Luda's ears. He had been in contact with the Xianchen ancestor for the past few days, and he mentioned Lin Yi as well. But the elder told him not to worry, that someone would take care of Lin Yi when he got back. Yes, Chairman He. Chi-Chi nodded politely. Elder Wang, go get a great recovery pill and give it to Chi-Chi. This is the tradition of the association. Chi-Chi, don't reject it. The chairman said to Elder Wang before turning to Chi-Chi. Thank you very much, President He. Chi-Chi said happily. Chi-Chi, I heard that your sister, Little Nine, is the inheritor of the Yellow Earth sect. Luda asked. Chi-Chi's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect Luda to know about this, but she didn't want to hide it. After all, exposing Little Nine's identity would only benefit her. No matter how strong Luda was, he wouldn't dare go against the entire ancient world. The identity of Little Nine's inheritor was like a protective talisman. Whoever dared to touch Little Nine would be the entire ancient world's enemy. Which one of those Sky-class late-phase peak and full-circle peak didn't want to participate in the Sky-class island project and ascend to Sky-class strength? Yes, she's the long-lost sister of the Yellow Earth sect's young master, Tu Ba Wang. Chi-Chi nodded. You and her are both cultivation geniuses. But Chi-Chi, how come I didn't see it before? How did you train so fast? Did you have some sort of miracle? Luda asked tentatively. Of course, he wasn't suspecting Chi-Chi. He just wanted to know if she had some sort of secret. President He, the truth is that I didn't cultivate internal martial arts in the past because I couldn't calm my heart. You also know that internal martial arts cultivation is different from external martial arts cultivation. One is quiet, and the other is active. In the past, because of Little Nine's matter, I went around looking for medicine, wanting to cure her illness, so I couldn't cultivate in peace. But now, her problem has been solved, so I can cultivate at home. Chi-Chi said, but because of the uniqueness of the assassin group, we're not allowed to reveal our strength to the outside world. It's just that I was stuck at a bottleneck before, and I trusted the association, that's why I told them. Chapter 3289. Yes, Chairman. Chi-Chi nodded. Elder Wang, on the other hand, had already retrieved the chi-gathering pill. He gave it to Chi-Chi and left. Chi-Chi returned to Island X without a hitch. Even she didn't expect things to go this smoothly, but it was probably because of Little Nine's identity that Luo didn't dare to suspect her. Lin Yi didn't think that Chi-Chi would get things done this quickly. Seeing how easily Chi-Chi handed the chi-gathering pill to him, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. Chi-Chi's feelings towards him were unreserved. This chi-gathering pill was a very important pill for practitioners, but Chi-Chi didn't hesitate at all. She gave it to him like it was a normal thing. Chi-Chi, you don't want to ascend to Sky Class? Lin Yi sighed and asked after taking the chi-gathering pill. I want to, but with Lin Yi bro here, I don't need this pill. It'll be a waste if I eat it. Chi-Chi shook her head. Alright, Chi-Chi, but you have to eat the next one. Otherwise, Luo might get suspicious, Lin Yi reminded. It's fine, Luo won't dare do anything to me now. Young Chi-Chi waved her hand and told him about Lil Vajou. Oh. Lin Yi paused. The fact that Little Nine was an Earth Affinity inheritor was rare even in the ancient world of China. How did Luo, the chairman of the Practitioners Association, know about it? Other than the people of the Yellow Earth sect, only the Xianqin ancestor knew about it. Could it be that Luo was connected to the Xianqin ancestor? But, no matter what, this wasn't bad news at all. He'd planned on leaving a chi-gathering pill for Chi-Chi no matter what, but Chi-Chi's face changed. But now, Lin Yi might be able to take the second pill for himself. Even if Chi-Chi hadn't broken through, as long as Xiao Zhou was here, Luo Ran wouldn't dare do anything to her. But that was just Lin Yi's thought. It was better to be safe than sorry. If he could get through this, he wouldn't need Chi-Chi's chi-gathering pill. As long as he could rebuild his name in the ancient world, he wouldn't need Chi-Chi's chi-gathering pills. Kong Ming's pills would come to him. Thinking of this, Lin Yi said, if that's the case, then I'll go into seclusion and refine this chi-gathering pill first. Now, Lin Yi had to do his best to increase his strength in order to deal with the predicament he would face when he returned to the ancient era. Lin Yi had to go and intimidate them again. Chi-Chi, Zhou, Shihan, and Qing Yi all knew about Lin Yi's current situation. Naturally, they wouldn't say anything. That day, Lin Yi entered her guest room again to take the chi-gathering pill. Not bad. The pill in Lin Yi's hand had a medicinal aroma. It was a chi-gathering pill, but from the looks of it, the quality wasn't as good as the one Lin Yi took last time. But it was no wonder that the one Lin Yi took last time was made by Li Ju from the God of Dan chapter. And this pill, if it wasn't from the Sky Elixir sect, then it was from their previous stock. It definitely wasn't as good as Zhang Li Ju's. But, it was good enough that he had one. He wasn't picky, anyway. The quality of the chi-gathering pill only mattered when used to break the barrier. A good quality pill would increase the success rate, but an experienced pill wouldn't make any difference in the end. Lin Yi had the experience of taking a chi-gathering pill before, so he wasn't too nervous. After preparing the pill, he took a deep breath and slowly put it in his mouth, swallowing it. Immediately after, a warm current flowed from Lin Yi's abdomen to his whole body, and it was as if his meridians were on fire. This feeling was something Lin Yi had experienced before. It was painful, but Lin Yi knew that this was a path he had to go through, and so he didn't try to resist it. He just let it happen, gritting his teeth and waiting for it to happen. After that, the burning sensation intensified, and Lin Yi felt that not only his meridians, but his whole body was on fire. But even so, Lin Yi gritted his teeth and persevered. This feeling was very familiar to Lin Yi. It was the same feeling he had the last time he took a chi gathering pill. The more painful it was, the more it was a sign of a breakthrough. The energy released by the chi gathering pill flowed continuously from Lin Yi's abdomen into Lin Yi's meridians. And as time passed, Lin Yi could feel the energy in his meridians increasing. The huge amount of energy was rushing at Lin Yi's meridians, as if it wanted to expand them. On Lin Yi's forehead, beads of sweat rolled down continuously. This painful feeling was getting stronger and stronger, but in Lin Yi's heart, he was very excited. After all, if he didn't feel this way, Lin Yi would be crying. It wasn't easy to get a chi gathering pill, but it didn't have any effect. If that happened, Lin Yi would have the heart to die. As Lin Yi's pain deepened, the spiritual energy in the air gathered and circled above Lin Yi's head, forming an extremely weak vortex. It formed a resonance with the true energy in Lin Yi's body, and it circulated rapidly around Lin Yi's body. The faster it spun, the faster Lin Yi's body temperature rose. Finally, there was a loud bang in Lin Yi's ears, and his whole body trembled. His meridians seemed to explode in an instant, and at this moment, Lin Yi knew that he had broken through. Heaven Middle Stage. At this moment, Lin Yi had the strength of Heaven Middle Stage. It could be said that Lin Yi was one step closer to that peak. Heaven Rank Middle Stage was only 4 stages away from the peak of Heaven Rank Late Stage. Thinking about the journey from Golden Stage to now, Lin Yi was filled with emotion. It was only a short year, but it felt like a lifetime. In this year, too many things had happened, and he had too many responsibilities on his shoulders. These responsibilities constantly urged Lin Yi to work hard. Fortunately, this chi gathering pill allowed Lin Yi to smoothly level up and break through, and the current Lin Yi, with the essence necklace, could probably kill an expert with the strength of the peak of Heaven Late Stage, right? Chapter 3290. All this time, Lin Yi had been racing against time, and he'd managed to confuse a lot of people. Of course, Lin Yi had successfully broken through to Sky Class mid-phase, and it was time to go back. Hiding outside wasn't the way to go, and without any elixirs, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to break through again. On this day, Lin Yi said goodbye to Chi-Chi and Zhou, bringing Shihan and Qingyi back. But, in the time Lin Yi was gone, something big happened in the ancient level, and it was all about the Palace of Darkness. But because of how big the incident with Lin Yi was, not many people paid attention to the Palace of Darkness. Qibing had been living a hard life these days. Not only did he have to clean the toilets with one arm, but Meng Yao made it worse, pushing all kinds of dirty work onto his shoulders. Now, Qibing had become the executioner of the Palace of Darkness, feeding the cows and goats. When the disciples were on duty, Qibing could be seen everywhere. He didn't want to do it, but he had no choice. The Palace of Darkness had become Meng Yao's word now, and as long as her actions didn't harm the Palace of Darkness, the Grand Elder wouldn't object. Qibing's backer, Elder Black, had lost his power as well, and he couldn't even protect himself. How could he care about Qibing? Qibing felt so wronged. Just thinking about it made him angry, but there was nothing he could do. In his heart, he was planning to go to the Sky Elixir sect, but he couldn't just go as he pleased. Although Kong Mingming had agreed, he had to show some sincerity if he wanted to, right? If he just went, he wouldn't have any position in the Sky Elixir sect. He might just end up as a disciple, and it wouldn't be much better than being in the Palace of Darkness. He wanted to stand out and get revenge on that bitch, Lin Yi and Meng Yao, so he needed strength. A man couldn't be without strength, but without status, where would strength come from? Qibing basically had no chance of leveling up in the Palace of Darkness anymore, unless Meng Yao died or something happened to him. Just when Zhao Qibing was racking his brains, unable to find a reason to surrender and offer benefits, a phone call made him ecstatic. Hello, is that Zhao Qibing? I'm Kong Ming Ming. Kong Ming Ming's arrogant voice came from the other side of the phone. Back then, Kong Ming Ming was just a playboy from an ordinary family that was not even an aristocratic family. However, he became an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, one of the largest sects in the ancient times. Of course, he did not know that Kong Ming Ming was the son-in-law of Xianchen ancestor. If he knew, he would be even more envious. It's me, Elder Kong, are you looking for me? Qibing said respectfully. It's like this. Let me ask you something. Is Chu Mengyao really powerful in the Palace of Darkness now? The Xianchen ancestor knew a little about the Palace of Darkness. During this period of time, the Xianchen ancestor was a little anxious. This Lin Yi hid abroad and wouldn't come back. Those who went to cause trouble for the Yellow Springs sect also stopped. The Xianchen ancestor didn't know where to start if he wanted to deal with Lin Yi. But, it was impossible to let Lin Yi go just like that. Putting aside the fact that Lin Yi made Little 11 into this state, just the conflict from before was enough for him to not let him go so easily. So, the Xianchen ancestor wanted to force Lin Yi back and see how the sects that were going to cause trouble for Lin Yi would react. If they didn't cause trouble for Lin Yi, then it meant that there was something wrong with what happened before. If they did cause trouble for Lin Yi, then the Xianchen ancestor could just sit back and watch the fire burn. However, no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't find a suitable reason. However, Kong Ming Ming's words enlightened the Xianchen ancestor. Kong Ming Ming was up to no good. He suddenly thought of a good idea, and that was to get Chu Mengyao. As Kong Ming Ming's status rose, the Xianchen ancestor also told some secrets to Kong Ming Ming, such as the Heaven-class island plan. At this moment, Kong Ming Ming also knew that the young master of the Heaven Elixir sect wanted to take in wives and concubines. He wanted to take Bingtang as his wife. It was nothing more than setting this status in advance to prevent the future Heaven-class island plan from affecting the plan by losing his virginity. The wife and concubine of the Heaven Elixir sect's young master was equivalent to the young master's woman. She could temporarily keep her virginity. So, Kong Ming Ming suggested to let the young master of the Heaven Elixir sect go to the Dark Night Palace to propose. After all, the Xianchen ancestor had to do these things in the next few years. When Chu Mengyao was in trouble, how could Lin Yi just sit and watch? This way, Lin Yi would definitely return to his country, and his enemies would come to his door. Even if his enemies didn't do anything, the Xianchen ancestor could hint to some others to kill Lin Yi in the Dark Night Palace. Of course, the premise of all this was built on the premise that Lin Yi had to show up. That was why there was the scene of Kong Ming Ming calling Zhao Qibing. Ah, it's like this for now. Zhao Qibing nodded and said, now, in the Dark Night Palace, Chu Mingyao's words have enormous weight. Even the Grand Elder doesn't object to it. I see. Kong Ming Ming frowned. What if the Heaven Elixir sect went to propose and the Grand Elder stopped them? One had to know that the Grand Elder's temper was bad and stubborn. If she stood on Chu Mingyao's side, then things would be a little difficult. Just like Ice Palace's Bingtang. The Ice Palace had the power to be strong, and if Bingtang didn't agree, the Xianchen ancestor couldn't do anything. They couldn't let the Heaven Elixir sect attack the Ice Palace, could they? That wasn't realistic. Luckily, Bingtang knew that she had to be a virgin in order to start the Heaven-class island plan. The Ice Palace was a branch of the Five-Element sect, so the ancestral teachings definitely said this. So, he wasn't worried that Bingtang would mess around. It was the same for the Snow Valley, but what made the Xianchen ancestor unhappy was that the Ice Palace and Snow Valley actually changed the inheritors to Lin Yi's first and second wives. What a scam. Even if they were virgins now, there would definitely be resistance when the plan was carried out. This resistance was Lin Yi, so in the eyes of the Xianqian ancestor, Lin Yi had to die. But because of the wood element inheritor on Boss Bai's side, the Xianqian ancestor didn't touch Lin Yi. Chapter 3291. And Kong Mingming was his son-in-law. Even if Boss Bai was angry, he wouldn't really do anything to Kong Mingming. It would just leave a knot in Boss Bai's heart. What's wrong, what's wrong? Qibing felt that Kong Mingming's tone was a little irritated, so he asked curiously. Nothing. But, Qibing, I have a mission for you. If you do it well, I can recommend you to come to our Sky Elixir sect. I can't promise you the position of an elder, but you can be a deacon. Kong Mingming said. Aw. Really? That's great. Qibing was overjoyed. Elder Kong, tell me, what do you need me to do? Don't worry, I'll do my best to complete the mission. It's nothing much. In a few days, something might happen in your Palace of Darkness. You just need to report the reaction of Grand Elder and Mengyao to me. You don't need to do or ask about anything else, Kong Mingming said. Is that so? Alright, I understand. Qibing quickly nodded in response. Chapter 3292. Ah. The disciple was startled. He was about to question Kong Xiaoming when he saw the Heavenly Elixir Sex Elder's token. He jumped in fright and quickly changed his words. Please wait for a moment, I'll go and report. Humph. What are you waiting for? Kong Xiaoming represented the Heavenly Elixir sect, a first-rate sect in the ancient times. Because of his high status, he didn't care about the disciple of the Dark Palace. Of course, the disciple didn't dare say anything. Who told them to be weaker than the Sky Palace? This was the situation that had been in place for thousands of years. The Dark Palace never had any strong characters, and even if they had a Sky-class late-phase peak, it was just one. They couldn't compare to the Sky Elixir sect. The disciple quickly returned and reported to Chu Mengyao and the Grand Elder. If it was in the past, these disciples definitely wouldn't report to the Palace Master. Yuan Er's Palace Master was just a title. Everyone knew that her words weren't as effective as a normal elder's. But now, it was different. Mengyao was the rightful Palace Master of the Dark Palace, and her position wasn't lower than the Grand Elder's. Naturally, they would report to her. Kong Mingming is here. Mengyao was in the middle of practicing when she heard the disciple's report. She frowned. This Kong Mingming was an old acquaintance, but after he became strong, Mengyao didn't have much contact with him anymore. Why would he suddenly visit the Dark Palace? Could it be because of Lin Yi? These days, Mengyao knew about the rumors about Lin Yi as well. As the Palace Master of the Dark Palace, it was much easier for her to know about these things than Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao. Her personality was fundamentally different from Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao. She was a young miss, and although she didn't manage a company, she had seen and heard about it since she was young. She had the temperament of a leader, and that was how she established her position in the Dark Palace. As for Tang Yun, on the one hand, it was because of her personality. On the other hand, it was because she had stayed here to exchange for Lin Yi's life. It was reasonable for the Shuegu to restrict her and prevent her from interacting with Lin Yi. As for the Ice Palace, Xiao Xiao was a strong person as well, similar to Yushu, but there was an even stronger palace master, Bingtang. Bingtang had always looked down on Lin Yi, and wanted to see how Lin Yi was going to deal with him if he got into trouble. In fact, Bingtang was conflicted because of that little mistress. As Lin Yi got stronger, she didn't know how she should face Lin Yi. Did she really have to be this little mistress for him? Going from Xiao Zhao's senior sister to her sister? And so, Bingtang locked down all information related to Lin Yi. Her control over the ice palace was no less than Ming Yao's, so naturally, Xiao Xiao wouldn't know about this. But, even if Meng Yao was a bit worried after hearing the rumors, she still trusted Lin Yi. This trust was probably formed from living with Lin Yi for a long time. As far as Meng Yao was concerned, no matter how difficult it was, no matter how dangerous it was, Lin Yi would be able to deal with it. And no matter what trouble Meng Yao ran into, no matter how strong the enemy was, Lin Yi would always be there to protect her. Lin Yi was her protector. Because of her unconditional trust in Lin Yi, Meng Yao didn't think that Lin Yi was hiding out of the country. If he wanted to hide, wouldn't it be better to hide in West Star Mountain? With air good in there, whoever came would die. Why would he need to leave the country? And so, Lin Yi must have other things he wanted to do. The Miss still believed that Lin Yi was the strongest. Just as she was thinking about why Kong Ming was here, the Grand Elder walked in. Evidently, she'd received a report from a disciple, and was here to discuss a plan with Meng Yao. Yao Yao, are you training? The Grand Elder asked in a pleasant tone. No, Grand Elder, I just received a report from a disciple guarding the door. He said that Kong Ming from the Sky Elixir sect is here. Meng Yao said. Yeah, that's why I'm here. Yao Yao, what do you think Kong Ming is here for? The Grand Elder asked. I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with him, but he knows Lin Yi. Meng Yao said honestly. The Grand Elder couldn't help but frown when she heard Lin Yi's name. To be honest, the Grand Elder didn't think highly of Lin Yi, especially with the recent news from the ancient level. It made the Grand Elder think that Lin Yi was someone who only knew how to show off, but didn't have any real strength. So now that she heard that this might have something to do with Lin Yi, she said unhappily, don't tell me that Lin Yi's real strength was exposed, and he's here to cause you trouble. After all, you were really close with Lin Yi. Yao Yao, why don't you tell him later that you've cut off all contact with Lin Yi? What do you think? I've always said that Lin Yi kid isn't reliable. He's just a solo practitioner, how can he be that strong? Now that he's exposed, his enemies are probably coming for revenge. However, the Grand Elder suddenly noticed that Ming Yao's face was very dark, and she couldn't help but stop talking. She wasn't afraid of Lin Yi, but she was afraid that Meng Yao would be unhappy. Grand Elder, Lin Yi isn't as strong as the rumors say. I hope you won't slander him in the future. Meng Yao said seriously. Forget it, I'm doing this for your own good. Yao Yao, if Lin Yi is really that strong, why isn't he back yet? Why is he hiding abroad? The Grand Elder wasn't convinced. She didn't know what Lin Yi did to Meng Yao, but she was still on Lin Yi's side at a time like this. Lin Yi has his own business. He doesn't need to tell anyone where he's going, does he? What others say is their business. Meng Yao explained. Alright, let's go meet Kong Ming first. Let's see what he's here for. The Grand Elder didn't want her relationship with Meng Yao to be affected by a solo practitioner like Lin Yi, so she didn't mention Lin Yi again. But to be honest, she didn't think much of Lin Yi. Chapter 3293. Meng Yao already knew the Grand Elder's temper, and so she kept the balance between the two of them, not touching his bottom line. The Grand Elder, on the other hand, wanted to use Meng Yao to revitalize the Palace of Darkness, so naturally he wouldn't touch her bottom line. The two of them came to the Palace of Darkness guest room, where Kong Ming and Xiao Yi were invited in as well. Kong Ming was leisurely drinking tea, not even standing up to welcome the Grand Elder and Meng Yao. Meng Yao didn't think much of Kong Ming, but when she saw Xiao Yi beside Kong Ming, her face changed. Others might not recognize Xiao Yi, but she did. He was the one who'd hurt Lin Yi. Xinyan still had a picture of him in her phone, and she'd even told Meng Yao to be careful of this person. But why was Kong Xiaoming hanging out with this person? What was his relationship with Kong Mingming? Kong Mingming from the Sky Elixir sect was hard enough to deal with, but he'd brought someone this strong with him. It gave Meng Yao a headache. Xiao Yi and Lin Yi had a deep grudge. From the first time they fought over Han Jingjing, to the second time because of Sun Jingyi, when Lin Yi stole Xiao Yi's Sky-class weapon, the two were as incompatible as fire and water. Elder Kong, you two sure are arrogant, aren't you? You came to the Palace of Darkness, and didn't even stand up to welcome me and Palace Master Chu. The Palace of Darkness doesn't welcome rude guests like you. Kong Mingming and Xiao Yi's actions infuriated the Grand Elder. This was a slap to the face of the Palace of Darkness. The Grand Elder cared about the palace's reputation the most, and these two's actions had crossed his bottom line. You can insult the Grand Elder himself, you can insult the disciples of the Palace of Darkness, but you can't insult the rules of the Palace of Darkness. Is that so? Why don't I feel that way? Please, have a seat. Kong Mingming did not seem to understand the meaning of the Grand Elder. He still pointed to the seat not far away and said casually, "You." The Great Elder snorted coldly, revealing his peak heaven rank late phase strength. From the Grand Elder's perspective, Kong Mingming was just an early stage heaven alchemist. He didn't have much power. He wanted to scare him and let him know that this was the Dark Knight Palace, not the Heavenly Elixir sect. Humph. Little One snorted coldly, and suddenly revealed his peak heaven late stage great circle strength, shocking the Supreme Elder. He looked at Kong Mingming's follower in disbelief. You. The Great Elder was a little shocked. She never thought that Kong Mingming's follower would be so powerful. It should be known that in the entire ancient times, the number of experts who had the strength of the great perfection of the late stage of heaven rank could be counted on one's fingers. Who was this person? Little One looked at the Grand Elder's shocked face and smiled proudly. This was the effect he wanted. We have the right to be proud of coming here. Kong Xiaoming was feeling great as well. Having a bodyguard like this was the best thing he could do. He looked at the Grand Elder's face and was delighted. Grand Elder, who are you trying to scare? Little One, right? Aren't you going to show off your heaven-class weapon as well? Meng Yao wasn't afraid at all. She only looked at Little One coldly. The reason why she dared to talk to Little One like this was because of her special identity. She was a metal element inheritor. If Little One dared to hurt her, then he would be going against the entire ancient sect. Plus, Meng Yao knew more inside information. She knew from Lin Yi that the Inheritor Plan and the Heaven-class Island Plan were led by the Xianchen ancestor. Since that was the case, as the disciple of the Xianchen ancestor, Little One wouldn't hurt Meng Yao. He wouldn't be able to explain himself when he went back. That was why Meng Yao was so arrogant and dared to mock him. As expected, Little One's face froze and his old face turned red. His heaven-class weapon had been taken away by Lin Yi, and he still hadn't returned it. This was a pain in his heart. Being directly pointed out by Meng Yao made him feel embarrassed. Okay, junior brother Kong, let's get down to business. Five Element Sect, Xianchen ancestor's first disciple, Meng Yao said to the shocked Grand Elder, directly pointing out Little One's identity. After hearing this, the Grand Elder's face changed slightly, and he couldn't help but frown. Five Element Sect. What are you doing here? Nothing, I'm just here to accompany junior brother Kong. Little One pointed at Kong Mingming and said. Kong Mingming. Aren't you an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect? When did you become the disciple of the Xianchen ancestor? Meng Yao asked. I'm not only the disciple of the Xianchen ancestor, I'm also his son-in-law. Kong Mingming laughed and said, okay, let's not talk about this. Palace Master Meng Yao, this time I'm here on behalf of our Heavenly Elixir Sect's young master, Silkworm Change, to propose marriage to you. Propose marriage? What marriage? Meng Yao was slightly taken aback. Our young master Tian has taken a fancy to Miss Chu, and is preparing to take Miss Chu as a concubine. How about it, Miss Chu? If you have no objections, let's settle this matter. From now on, you will be young Master Tian's woman. Kong Mingming said to himself, as if this matter had already been decided by the Heavenly Elixir sect. Kong Mingming, what do you mean by this? Is there something wrong with you? Mingyao's face darkened, and her eyes turned cold. This Kong Mingming really didn't have any good intentions. He came here to cause trouble. Marry Silkworm Change. Didn't he know that she liked Lin Yi? But he probably knew, and he came here only because he saw that Lin Yi's strength wasn't good enough, so he came to cause trouble. Elder Kong, please leave. Your Heavenly Elixir sect is a big family, and our Palace of Darkness can't afford it. The Grand Elder also had a lot of opinions about the Heavenly Elixir sect. Although it could be said that Yuan broke off the engagement first, these years after the engagement, the Heavenly Elixir sect had been secretly suppressing the Palace of Darkness. This made the Grand Elder hate the Heavenly Elixir sect a long time ago. How could he let Meng Yao marry them? Chapter 3294. It could be said that the Grand Elder did this to cultivate an inheritor for the Dark Palace. But now that the Dark Palace already had an inheritor, they would have a place in the future Heaven-class island plan. They would have the right to speak and wouldn't need to marry someone else. So, the Grand Elder rejected it right away. Great Elder, you'd better think carefully before you speak. It's Miss Chu's fortune that our young master has taken a liking to her. Could it be that the Dark Palace wishes to go against the Heavenly Elixir sect? Kong Xiaoming heard the Great Elder's rejection and felt a little embarrassed. Although he guessed that there was an 80% chance that the Great Elder would reject, he still had a glimmer of hope in his heart. But now, it was completely shattered. Xiao Yi, right? The matters of the Palace of Darkness were all decided by Mr. Yang back then. If you think you can go against Mr. Yang, then do as you please. The Grand Elder turned to look at Little One and said slowly. Mr. Yang. Xiao Yi paused. Mr. Yang is one of the Vajra double fiends. If you don't know, you can go back and ask your master, Patriarch Shenqin. He will definitely know. The Supreme Elder said, back then, why didn't Mr. Yang kill him? You. Little E had naturally heard of the reputation of the Vajra double evils. Although the Vajra double evils did not find the Five Elements sect back then, the news still spread, causing everyone in the Five Elements sect to feel threatened. Now that the Supreme Elder suddenly mentioned it, Little E was shocked. The Dark Palace was related to the Killer Kong duo. Was it true? This old woman wasn't just scaring people, was she? Why hadn't he heard of it before? This old woman must be scaring people. The Killer Kong duo had disappeared for so many years, how could they be related to the Dark Palace? If they were, would the Dark Palace be in such a miserable state? Hee, Elder Kong, if you don't believe me, you can go back and ask your ninth elder. He knew about it back then too. Oh, but a few of them were taken away by the Killer Kong duo. He should have been promoted by now. His position must be higher than yours. The Grand Elder said faintly. Ahem. Let's not talk about this. I'm here mainly to pass on this message. Of course, the one making the final decision is still your Palace of Darkness. We won't interfere. Kong Mingming had also heard about the Vajra double spirits, but he had never experienced it. Therefore, he was not afraid of these two legendary figures. He did not want to let the young man argue with the Grand Elder again, so he said directly, "Think about it." "There's no need to think about it. The Palace of Darkness will not agree to it. Please leave." The Great Elder rejected them directly. Actually, we have good intentions. If Grand Elder doesn't agree, just pretend that I didn't say anything." Kong Ming Ming shrugged and said helplessly. Good intentions? You call that good intentions? Meng Yao retorted coldly. Doesn't the Heavenly Elixir sect think that the Dark Palace is weak and doesn't have any backing? If Miss Chu marries young Master Tian, then our sects will be in-laws. If the Dark Palace needs anything in the future, the Heavenly Elixir sect will help. Kong Ming Ming said. There's no need. The Grand Elder interrupted, what else do you have to say? It's fine if there's no need. I know that Miss Chu has Lin Yi as her backing, but Lin Yi. TSK, I wonder if Miss Chu has heard about Lin Yi recently. I'm afraid that backing is unreliable. Kong Ming Ming shook his head and sighed. The ancient world hasn't been too peaceful recently. Right, as you said, the black-white double spirits have been gone for too long. They can't control the ancient world anymore. Recently, a group of robbers appeared in the ancient world. You guys have to be careful. If anything happens, ask Lin Yi for help. The Heavenly Elixir sect is powerless. Kong Ming Ming, what do you mean? If you have something to say, just say it. What do you mean by a gang of robbers? Meng Yao frowned. She didn't understand what Kong Xiaoming was saying. Nothing much, I just heard that there's a group of robbers recently. They specialize in robbing the weaker ancient sections. You guys have to be careful. Kong Ming Ming didn't stay any longer. He stood up and was ready to leave. All right, that's all I have to say. Think about it yourselves. Elder Kong, are you trying to scare us? The Grand Elder had never heard of any ancient sect robberies recently, so he thought that Kong Xiaoming didn't achieve his goal and was trying to scare the Palace of Darkness with his words. It's up to you whether you want to believe me or not. I'm telling you. Kong Xiaoming shook his head. Together with Little Yi, the two of them left the living room and left quickly. The Grand Elder didn't stop them. If Kong Ming Ming didn't want to talk, there was no point in forcing him. The Grand Elder was strong, but she couldn't force Kong Ming Ming to stay. That would be going against the Sky Elixir sect. The Grand Elder didn't want the Dark Palace to be dragged into this. Yao, what do you think this Kong Ming Ming is trying to do? Is he really here to propose? The Grand Elder felt that Kong Ming Ming's goal wasn't pure. It seemed like he had ulterior motives. I don't know, but maybe I should contact Lin Yi and see if he can come over. We can discuss this with him. He knows Kong Ming Ming better than I do. Meng Yao suggested. Actually, she missed Lin Yi quite a bit, but she didn't have the chance to go back and Lin Yi was busy. She wanted to use this reason to get Lin Yi to come over. Lin Yi? The Grand Elder frowned. Yao, I don't want to criticize you, but Lin Yi is a solo practitioner. Now that his strength has been exposed, why are you still hanging out with him? A small character like him isn't good enough for you. Not only that, if you let him come, he might bring trouble to the Dark Palace. He was Kong Ming Ming's enemy in the first place, and now that he's here, we're obviously going against Kong Ming Ming. Isn't that the same as offending the Sky Elixir sect? The Grand Elder didn't want a marriage alliance with the Sky Elixir sect, but she didn't want to fall out with them. Of course, she looked down on Lin Yi even more. She didn't think that there was anything good about Lin Yi. She didn't want Meng Yao to repeat Yi Wan's mistake and have something with Lin Yi. Chapter 3295. Forget it, it's up to you. Highest Elder sighed. She felt that there was something wrong with what happened today. The Heavenly Elixir sect came early without any warning, and after being rejected by her, they left directly. This was really strange. But, although Meng Yao had established her own prestige in the Palace of Darkness, she was still lacking when it came to the foresight of the ancient level. So, the Grand Elder decided to think about what the Sky Elixir School was trying to do. However, the Grand Elder was destined to be disappointed. She would never have thought that the Sky Elixir sect didn't go through such a big circle for the Dark Palace, but for Lin Yi. But this conclusion was something the Grand Elder would never have thought of. After Kong Mingming and Xiao Yi left the Dark Palace, they went straight back to the Five Elements sect. The rejection from the Dark Palace was actually within their expectations. Kong Mingming called the Xianqin ancestor in the car. "Father-in-law, we left the Dark Palace." As expected, the Grand Elder didn't know how to appreciate favors and rejected my proposal. Kong Mingming said, "But I carried out the second plan and told her that the ancient level hasn't been peaceful recently." "Alright, I got it. Leave the rest to me." The Xianqin ancestor sighed and nodded. He hung up and said to the door, "Xiao, come in for a moment." This Xiao, was naturally the second disciple of the Xianqin ancestor, Xiao Yi's junior. He was a Sky-class late-phase peak full-circle master. Although he hadn't reached full circle for as long as Xiao Yi, he was still one of the top masters in the Five Elements sect. In the Five Elements sect, there were a total of 5 experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. Apart from the Black Sky ancestor, Boss Bai, who had become a cripple, there were still the Black True ancestor, Little One, and Little Two. "Master." Xiao cupped his fists respectfully and walked in. "How about this, tell Xiao San, Xiao Si, and Xiao Wu to come find me later. I have something for them to do." The Xianqin ancestor said to Xiao, "Okay, master, I'll go find them now." Xiao quickly nodded. That group of robbers in the ancient level didn't even exist. It was no wonder that the Grand Elder hadn't heard of it. The Xianqin ancestor hadn't formed it yet. Since the Dark Palace rejected the marriage, the Xianqin ancestor had to move on to the next step of his plan, which was to find trouble with the Dark Palace. Either the Grand Elder would force Meng Yao to marry into the Sky Elixir sect, or Meng Yao would ask Lin Yi for help, or Meng Yao would ask Lin Yi for help. Either way, Lin Yi couldn't hide anymore. He had to show himself no matter what. There wouldn't be any accidents. Therefore, Elder Xianqin sent his disciple to form a team to cause trouble for the Dark Palace. This time, he sent out 3 Heaven-class peak late-phase masters in one go. His goal was to make the Dark Palace admit defeat and give them pressure. As for why they didn't send Little Fool, it was because it would be too fake if Little Fool made a move. How many peak late-stage Heaven-rank powerhouses were there in the ancient era? There were only a handful of them. If he sent Xiao Air to the Five Elements sect, although Xiao Air had never shown up in public in the ancient times, and the Grand Elder definitely wouldn't suspect the Five Elements sect, Boss Bai definitely would. Apart from those known peak late-stage perfect masters, this perfect master could only come from the Five Elements sect. This was not the result that the Xianqin ancestor wanted. After all, in the Xianqin ancestor's plan, if no other forces came to cause trouble for Lin Yi after Lin Yi appeared, then he would let his disciples' team directly kill Lin Yi. Anyway, it would have nothing to do with him at that time. Even if Boss Bai suspected it, he wouldn't be able to find any evidence. There were very few peak late-phase Heaven stage experts, but there were a few peak late-phase Heaven stage experts. Almost every ancient sect had them, and even rogue cultivators had them. Who would know who did it when the time came? Soon, little 3, little 4, and little 5 came in front of the Xianchen ancestor. The 3 bowed respectfully. "Greetings, master." "And, very good. You're here. I have something for you to do." "How about it?" "You must do it well. Do you hear me?" The Xianchen ancestor's stern voice made the 3 serious. "Don't worry, master. We'll work hard." The 3 quickly said. "Okay, this is how it is. Bring a few juniors. They don't need to be too powerful. Just heaven rank will do. Then, put on a show for me." As the Xianchen ancestor spoke, he told his 3 disciples about his plan. Actually, the 3 peak late-stage heaven rank masters were just to intimidate the Dark Palace and give them some pressure. It was just to draw out Lin Yi. They didn't really expect to destroy the Dark Palace. So, it didn't matter if there weren't peak late-stage perfect masters. These people were enough to intimidate. After all, the Great Elder was a peak late-stage heaven rank master. He couldn't possibly go against 3 peak late-stage heaven rank masters. "We understand, master. We will definitely do this well." After listening, little 3 and the others felt that this matter wasn't too difficult. Wasn't it just intimidating? When the time came, they would just have to kill a few disciples or work together to injure the Great Elder. It wasn't too difficult. It might not be easy for the 3 of them to work together to kill the Supreme Elder. After all, the Supreme Elder had put up a life-and-death struggle before his death. It was possible that the 3 of them would suffer heavy losses. However, injuring and threatening the Supreme Elder was still possible. Yes, but there is one thing you must pay attention to. You must be wary of the 3 old ancestors of the Yellow Spring sect. If they come to help, you must retreat. Even if they are at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, it is impossible for them to instantly kill you. You will definitely be able to escape. Old Ancestor Xianchen reminded. The only uncertain factor now was the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. He didn't know if the 3 elders of that sect were still on Lin Yi's side. He didn't know if they'd stick their noses into Ming Yao's business. The possibility wasn't high, but he still had to be careful. "We understand. We have little 5 as a cheat. We know what the opponent's strength is. As long as there are peak masters, we will retreat immediately." Little 3 said immediately. Chapter 3296. This was an auxiliary martial skill that could directly determine the cultivation level of the opponent. Even if the opponent did not circulate the mantra, it could still be seen. This martial skill was actually of little value. It could make use of the opponent's cultivation level to raise one's own martial skill to the same level as the opponent's cultivation level to attack. It was a rather heaven-defying technique that borrowed strength to fight. But now that little 5 was a peak late phase heaven class, the technique he could release was also at the peak late phase heaven class. Unless he met a master at the great perfection level, he could release a technique at the great perfection level. Other times, he didn't need to use it at all. Of course, before he had his current strength, his auxiliary martial skill was still quite useful. He used to be a very powerful cultivator. When he was in the Earth rank, he was able to escape after exchanging a blow with a high-level cultivator. But now, there was nothing special about it. "That's good." The Xianchen ancestor nodded. This was also the reason why he let his 3 disciples do it. Once a master appeared, little 5 would definitely notice and the 3 of them wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After all, this robbery had its risks. If the Blood Cloth Underworld sect killed them righteously, the Xianchen ancestor wouldn't be able to reason with them. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't just admit that the robbery group had something to do with him. Otherwise, Boss Spy would definitely use it as a pretext. Then, let's pack up and go to the Palace of Darkness tomorrow. Little Three asked. Yes, you guys go. The Xiantian ancestor said, remember, you can't kill the Grand Elder of the Palace of Darkness. Kill the other disciples as a warning. Your goal is to draw out Lin Yi. Okay, Master. But what if Lin Yi comes? Little Three continued to ask. If Lin Yi comes, spread the news and let Lin Yi's enemies kill him. Of course, if no one does it, you guys can kill him too. Just act according to the situation. The Xiantian ancestor ordered. No problem. Little Three nodded in agreement. The Grand Elder sent Kong Ming away, but she couldn't figure out their motives. Of course, she didn't know that the Dark Palace was about to face a disaster, and she would lose a layer of skin even if she didn't die. She was currently at the critical moment of attacking the peak of the Heaven rank. If she was injured, the Heaven Stage Island plan would have nothing to do with her. However, Patriarch Xiantian had already made a decision with just a few words. Even with the Grand Supreme Elder's ability, he could not change anything. So what if she thought of it? Even if he didn't expect it, what could he do? The next morning, a dozen uninvited guests came to the Dark Palace. Among them, the three leaders were the strongest, with Sky-class late-phase peak. The rest of the underlings ranged from Sky-class late-phase to Earth-class late-phase peak. Of course, most of them were only Sky-class early-phase. Boom, 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 the stone phoenix statue at the foot of the Dark Palace was smashed by Little Three, Little Four, and Little Five. Sand and stones flew everywhere. This stone phoenix was made from hard iron stone, and hard iron stone was one of the raw materials used to make heaven-rank divine weapons. It was extremely hard, and it was different from the stones in the secular world. Its hardness was comparable to diamond, but it was still shattered by Little Three and the others. It was obvious how strong they were. The disciple guarding the door was shocked by this sudden turn of events. He saw a group of masked men in black come to the door, and was about to ask them what they were here for. He didn't think that they would attack without saying anything and smash the stone phoenix representing the Dark Palace. What were they trying to do? You. The disciple was so scared he couldn't speak. He looked at the people in front of him in shock. When Little Three, Little Four, and Little Five broke the stone phoenix, they already showed their strength, Sky-class late-phase peak. 3 Sky-class late-phase peak masters suddenly appeared here, and they didn't come with good intentions. How could the disciple feel at ease? This is a robbery, call the person in charge of the Dark Palace out. Little Three looked coldly at the disciple and humphed, hurry up, I'll give you 10 minutes. If you don't show up in 10 minutes, we'll force our way in. Don't. I'll go report right now, seniors, please wait a moment. Although the disciple calling these thieves seniors made him feel bad, but they were strong now, and he had to bow his head. Humph. Hurry up. Little Three humphed coldly. The disciple ran to report to the Grand Elder and Meng Yao, and when the Grand Elder found out that a bunch of thieves had appeared outside the Palace of Darkness, breaking the stone phoenix totem of the Palace of Darkness, he was instantly enraged. Who are these people? How dare they come to our Dark Palace? Do they want to die? The Grand Elder wanted to demand an explanation from these people. But the disciple was startled. He promptly waved his hand and said, Supreme Elder, don't be impulsive. The 3 leaders of that group of thieves revealed their strength when they crushed the phoenix. These 3 are peak late-stage heaven rank experts. What? 3. Sky-class late-phase peak masters? The Grand Elder paused, her angry face immediately calmed down, and became terrifyingly gloomy. The Grand Elder originally thought that this was a group of thieves that didn't want to live anymore. No matter how strong they were, they wouldn't be able to do anything in front of her, a Sky-class late-phase peak master. But now, after hearing the disciples' words, the Grand Elder felt that something was wrong. What did 3 Sky-class late-phase peak masters mean? If the 3 of them worked together, it was possible that they could kill her. Did you notify Yao Yao? The Grand Elder took a deep breath, reminding herself to calm down. She had to calm down. What happened today wasn't a normal thing, and she had to be careful or the consequences would be unimaginable. I've already sent someone to notify her. Palace Master Chu should know by now. The disciple was talking when Meng Yao walked in with a serious face. Grand Elder. Meng Yao said hurriedly after walking in. The Grand Elder waved her hand. Yao Yao, come with me, let's go take a look. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse, and if it's a curse, we can't avoid it. These people didn't force their way in, they just want to see the people in charge of the Dark Palace. Perhaps there's still a chance to turn things around. Chapter 3297. After accepting the inheritance of the Dark Phoenix, her strength had increased by leaps and bounds, but she was still only an Earth-class early phase. But as the Palace Master of the Dark Palace, she had to take responsibility and show herself. Meng Yao and the Grand Elder soon arrived at the entrance of the Dark Palace. At this point, Little Three and the others were getting impatient. He jumped up and slammed his palm on the sign that said, Dark Palace. Stop. At this moment, Meng Yao and the Grand Elder arrived at the scene. The Grand Elder's heart skipped a beat when he saw Little Three making a move. He leaped up and attacked Little Three. Bang! The two's palms collided and quickly separated. Of course. The two of them were just probing each other. They didn't clash head-on. But even so, the Supreme Elder was shocked. This Little Three really has the strength of a peak late-stage heaven rank. He isn't simple. If they fought head-on, the Grand Elder wouldn't be able to kill him at all, and she'd be heavily injured instead. This discovery made her a little depressed. Where did these people come from? I am the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace. May I ask where you heroes are from, and what business do you have here at the Dark Palace? The Grand Elder landed and cupped her fists. She was pissed off at these people's evil actions, but she didn't dare get angry at the situation. That would be suicide. We brothers want to start our own sect, but we're lacking some resources. We're here to ask for some from the Dark Palace. I wonder if this Grand Elder here will agree, or agree, or agree. Little Three smiled. What do you want, heroes? The Grand Elder asked helplessly. Start a sect. Need some resources. Wasn't that robbery? Robbery. Just say it out loud, there was no need for so many reasons and excuses. But even though the Great Elder knew this, he could only ask patiently. The cultivation world was different from the mundane world. There was no room for reasoning when it came to robberies. It was the law of the jungle. The Palace of Darkness was weak, so naturally, these people came to bully them. What do you want? Brother, didn't I say it just now? We brothers want to establish our own sect, but we currently lack some resources. Little Three said. What resources do you need? Asked the Grand Elder. Establishing a sect requires some cultivation resources, right? What heavenly materials and earthly treasures? We must have them. Little Three said. You mean, we're going to give you heaven and earth treasures? In fact, the Grand Supreme Elder had already guessed something. These cultivators naturally did not come to rob for money. If they wanted money, they would not come to rob ancient sections. They could just rob any financial group in the secular world and they would have everything. The reason they came to the ancient sect was naturally for the cultivation resources. That's right, give us everything you have. Little Three nodded. You want all of them? The great elder's face changed. He didn't expect these people to be so greedy. They wanted all the resources of the Dark Palace. Wasn't that the same as asking for the Dark Palace's life? Hee, of course, but don't worry, it's not over yet. Little Three waved her hand and continued, we still need a place to establish our sect. I think this Dark Palace's location is not bad. Let it belong to us from now on. You guys can move away. Don't even think about it. The Grand Supreme Elder was shaking with anger. This is too much, too much. Don't you know that your actions have already broken the rules of cultivation in the ancient times? Broken? Ha, old woman, are you out of your mind? You want to talk about ancient rules with us robbers? Are you crazy? Little Three laughed. If you have the ability, then do it. If you don't, then bear with it. I'll give you a few days to think about it. In a few days, when we come here again, we will take over the Dark Palace. When that time comes, don't blame us for not giving you face. Dream on. There's no need to wait. I can tell you clearly that this is the birthplace of the Dark Palace. We will not give it to you. This is the honor of the Dark Palace. You will not be allowed to tarnish it. As for the resources you want, I can give you some. I hope that you will leave after you get them. Don't go too far. The Grand Supreme Elder said firmly. The Grand Supreme Elder would never give up the Dark Palace's territory. This was the honor of the Dark Palace. She would defend it with her life. She would not allow the Dark Palace to be destroyed in her hands. The birthplace of the Dark Palace passed down by her ancestors could not be lost. The Grand Elder could give up some of his training resources, he could take the insults and mockery, but if someone wanted to do something that would damage the Dark Palace's foundation, then he would never do it, even if it meant death. One had to say, although the Grand Supreme Elder was a snobbish person, she was sincere towards the Dark Palace. As long as it was beneficial to the Dark Palace, she would do anything that would lose her dignity. But if it was not beneficial to the Dark Palace, she would not be allowed to be killed. Old thing, I think you're going to do this the hard way. Little Three was waiting for the Grand Supreme Elder to say this. He was going to establish his dominance. Little Three laughed coldly and said to Little Four and Little Five, second brother, third brother, let's teach this old woman a lesson. All right. Little Four and Little Five replied. The three of them surrounded the Grand Supreme Elder. The Grand Supreme Elder's heart skipped a beat. She didn't think that the three of them would attack just like that. They didn't care about the ancient rules at all. But no matter what, she had to keep going. If she did, she would lose the birthplace of the Dark Palace. Then she'd be the sinner of the Dark Palace. She wouldn't be able to face the ancestors of the Dark Palace in the afterlife. Meng Yao was panicking, but there was nothing she could do. She was weak, an Earth-class early phase. She had no advantage in front of these people. She could only be panicking, but she couldn't help at all. Plus, if she went to help, she might even be more of a hindrance. After all, the Grand Supreme Elder had to take care of her, and couldn't focus on the enemies. Chapter 3298. The three of them attacked at the same time, and the Grand Elder had to take it all on his own. One could imagine how pitiful it would be. The Grand Elder's attack was neutralized by the three of them, but the three of them focused their attacks on the Grand Elder at the same time. 3 different directions, 3 different moves, all aimed at the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder didn't have time to react, and he couldn't care less about the front and the back. The 3 attacks landed on the Grand Elder at the same time, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he landed heavily on the ground. He'd suffered an extremely serious internal injury. Overconfident old thing, I'll give you a few days to think about it. Next time, it won't be this easy. If you don't leave the Palace of Darkness, the next time will be the day everyone in the Palace of Darkness dies. Little 3 looked at the Grand Elder on the ground, his eyes flashing with viciousness. You. Who are you? Could it be Kong Ming Ming sent you? Meng Yao was worried about the Grand Elder's safety, but this wasn't the time to worry about him. She had to figure out where these people came from. The Grand Elder could be very harsh and unreasonable at times, but Meng Yao could see that he was loyal to the Palace of Darkness. She was very worried. Meng Yao had thought of something before, and that was Kong Ming Ming had said something before he left yesterday. He said that the ancient level wasn't peaceful these days, and there were robbers and gangs, and these people came the next day. Was there really such a coincidence in this world? These people. Meng Yao felt that they had something to do with Kong Ming Ming. Little 3 paused. He didn't expect Meng Yao to be this smart, guessing their identity. This was the deadliest. The reason why Patriarch Xianqin made them cover their faces was to avoid detection. He didn't want them to show their true faces to others. But Meng Yao had guessed it. Yet, Xiao San couldn't do anything to Meng Yao. He could do anything to the Grand Elder and the others from the Dark Palace, but not to Meng Yao. She was the inheritor of the Dark Palace's metal element, and was crucial to the Xianqin Elder's future plans on Sky-class Island. If he hurt Meng Yao, he wouldn't be able to walk away unscathed. Thinking of this, Little 3 suddenly had an idea and snorted, "Oh. How did you know? Are you really sent by Kong Ming Ming?" Meng Yao didn't think that the mistress would admit to it. Meng Yao's face turned ugly. "So you're saying that you're here to cause trouble for me?" "That's right, I'm guessing. So you are from the Heavenly Elixir sect." Although the highest elder was seriously injured, he was annoyed when he heard Little 3's words. Is the Heavenly Elixir sect going to take the lead in breaking the ancient rules? What do you mean? Little 3 pretended to be confused. We wanted to rob the Heavenly Elixir sect. I heard that they're the richest sect in the ancient world, and they're all refiners without much strength. But we didn't expect them to be a bunch of tough bones. Motherfucker, there's an endless supply of masters, and there's even a consummate master. We didn't get any benefits at all. If it wasn't for that elder Kong Ming Ming being such a good person, telling us that the Dark Palace was the weakest and easy to bully, we wouldn't have come here. It's Kong Ming Ming after all. Meng Yao gritted her teeth. Although these people weren't sent by Kong Ming Ming directly, they were definitely related to Kong Ming Ming. This Kong Xiaoming came to propose yesterday and failed. After he went back, he was up to no good and brought this group of people over. Or rather, this group of people hadn't just arrived yesterday. Kong Xiaoming had told them about it before they arrived. But Kong Xiaoming had arrived before them. Otherwise, how would they know that the ancient plane wasn't peaceful recently? Girl, don't care about that Kong Ming Ming. You're the palace master here, right? I'll give you a chance to think about it. We'll come back in a few days. Little 3 said and waved his hand. Let's go. With that, Little 3 led his people down the mountain. His followers didn't even have the chance to do anything before they left. They were only here to cheer. If Little 3 hadn't injured the highest elder, they would have ganged up on him and killed a few of the Dark Palace's disciples. But now, there was no need for that. They had achieved their goal. Highest elder, are you all right? Meng Yao walked over and helped the highest elder up after they left. They've gone too far. The highest elder's face was filled with anger and unwillingness, but there was also a deep sense of helplessness. Although this group of robbers was arrogant, they were extremely strong. The Supreme Elder couldn't compete with them at all. Now, she had suffered a serious internal injury, and it made her lose all hope. She knew her own body well. She was planning to break through to Sky-class late-phase peak soon. If she did, not only would the Dark Palace's overall strength increase, but she would also be able to participate in the Sky-class island plan. If everything went well, she might even be able to step into Heaven's path. However, even though it was a good idea, he didn't expect such a thing to happen at this critical moment. This caused the Grand Elder's eyes to be filled with despair. It was over, it was all over. The Dark Palace might not even be able to get through this, let alone increase their strength. Heaven's path, on the other hand, was even more distant. Meng Yao was silent. Kong Mingming's actions were indeed a bit unreasonable, but she understood the law of the jungle even before she joined the Dark Palace. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's strength, she would have been eaten up a long time ago. But now that this was happening to the Dark Palace, Meng Yao wouldn't be happy. Highest Elder, what do we do? These people. Yao, in order to protect the Dark Palace, we can only agree to the Sky Elixir sect's request. Marry the young master of the Sky Elixir sect, and you can ask for their protection. The highest elder wasn't willing to do this, but she didn't think that there would be any other way if she didn't do this now. Meng Yao paused after hearing the highest elder's words. No, I don't want to, that's impossible. Chapter 3299. But, I won't do something like this, I like Lin Yi, I won't betray him. Meng Yao shook her head firmly. Elder, I'll talk to Lin Yi about this. I'm sure he'll have a way to solve this. Lin Yi? Yao, don't be stupid, Lin Yi's just a lone practitioner, how could he have a solution? His true strength has already been exposed. How could he be a match for these people? You have to know that there are at least 3 Sky-class late-phase peak masters among them in the ancient times, other than the Sky Elixir sect. Who else could suppress them? The Grand Elder said with disdain after hearing Meng Yao's words. She'd never liked Lin Yi. No, Lin Yi will definitely have a solution. Meng Yao said, but her heart was beating like a drum. She'd spent the longest time with Lin Yi, and she knew exactly how strong Lin Yi was. Lin Yi might be able to kill someone stronger than him, but he'd still be at his weakest. Meng Yao knew how many high-level masters died, and now there were at least 3 Sky-class late-phase peak masters. Could Lin Yi really deal with them? Yao, this is settled. I'll talk to the Sky Elixir sect and let them propose. If Lin Yi isn't a match for them, then our Palace of Darkness is finished. The Grand Elder said firmly. Grand Elder, when I came to the Palace of Darkness, you said that you wouldn't interfere with my personal affairs. If this is your decision, then I'll have to leave. I'd rather die than follow you. Meng Yao said with determination. You. The Grand Elder was a bit dumbfounded. She knew what kind of person Meng Yao was, and she was completely different from Yi Wan. Yi Wan accepted everything, but Meng Yao knew how to fight back. With her personality, she might really fight back with her life. But, Yao, do you want to see the Palace of Darkness fall? The Great Elder sighed and asked. No, Lin Yi will find a way. Meng Yao said firmly. Sigh. The Grand Elder shook his head helplessly. Yao, help me back to my room to rest. If you insist on doing this, then it means that the heavens want to destroy the Palace of Darkness. However, you're the inheritor. Even if Kong Mingming is the son-in-law of the 5-element sect, you're still an inheritor. The 5-element sect won't make things too difficult for you. Yao, promise me that one day, when you go to the Heavenly Stage Island and step into the Heavenly Dao, you must revive the Dark Knight Palace. Grand Elder. Meng Yao didn't expect the Grand Elder to say something like this. She fell silent for a moment. Yes, the Grand Elder may have some flaws here and there, but her heart was for the Palace of Darkness, and that would never change. But, how good would it be if she could trust Lin Yi? Alright, that's enough. Go look for Lin Yi. When Lin Yi arrives, you'll know that he's a loose cultivator. How weak they are. The Grand Elder interrupted Meng Yao and slowly walked into the Dark Palace with Meng Yao's support. The Grand Elder was heavily injured, and went into isolation to recuperate. Perhaps she was completely disappointed in Meng Yao, waiting for the end of the Dark Palace to come. Meng Yao didn't say anything, but the news of what happened in front of the Palace of Darkness spread across the entire Palace of Darkness. All the disciples were in a state of panic. Meng Yao couldn't help but frown at the situation, but she didn't explain anything. It was pointless to say anything at this point. The Grand Elder was injured, and it was a fact. Everything would have to wait for Lin Yi to come. If Lin Yi were to make a move, then it would be more useful than 100 or 1,000 words from Meng Yao. Go back and do your own things, the sky isn't falling yet. Meng Yao waved her hand, telling the confused disciples to go back to their own things. Meng Yao's authority in the Dark Palace was second only to the Grand Elder, so her words were very effective. The disciples left in a blink of an eye. Meng Yao went back to her room and called Lin Yi. What happened just now was too sudden, and there were a lot of disciples watching. Meng Yao didn't notice that Zhao Qibing, who was cleaning the toilet, had sneaked in behind the disciples. Although the conversation between Meng Yao and the Grand Elder wasn't loud, Zhao Qibing still heard something. So when Meng Yao called Lin Yi, he called Kong Mingming as well. Elder Kong, it's Lil Bing. Zhao Qibing said. Oh, Qibing. What's up? Is there news from the Dark Palace? Kong Mingming asked. Yes, didn't you come to force the marriage? Today, a group of robbers came and injured the Grand Elder, but Meng Yao and the Grand Elder had a dispute. The Grand Elder wanted Meng Yao to marry into the Sky Elixir sect, but Meng Yao didn't agree and insisted on looking for Lin Yi. She's probably calling Lin Yi now. Kong Mingming said softly. Oh. Really? That's great. Kong Mingming laughed happily. I'm not afraid of her looking for him, I'm afraid that she won't look for him. Qibing, you've done well. Don't worry, after this, you'll definitely get the position of deacon. Not only that, if you get the appreciation of ancestor Xianchen, who is also my father-in-law, it won't be hard for you to become an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Realm. Ah. Really? Zhao Qibing was excited. He didn't think that he would have this kind of opportunity. That's right. You might not know this, but your father and Elder Mian are highly valued here. They're secretly receiving their strength enhancement, and when the time comes, you might be able to enjoy this benefit too. The benefit Kong Mingming was talking about was naturally transforming them into biohumans. This was basically a trap, but when it came out of his mouth, it became a great thing. But Zhao Qibing didn't know the inside story and thought that he was valued because of his contribution. He said gratefully, "Don't worry, Elder Kong, what else do you want me to do next?" Next, pay attention to when Lin Yi goes to the Dark Palace. When Lin Yi goes there, you must call me immediately. Kong Mingming ordered. Alright, no problem. This was a simple task for Zhao Qibing. He quickly nodded in agreement. Chapter 3300. Although Lin Yi had a trump card, he was no longer the Sky-class early-phase peak master that was chased by the association like a stray dog. The current Lin Yi was a Sky-class mid-phase master, and with the help of the Essence Necklace, he should have the strength to kill a Sky-class late-phase peak master. After all, he was only a Sky-class early-phase peak, and without the Essence Necklace, he could injure He Tianzu, who was a Sky-class late-phase peak master. Now, Lin Yi's strength had increased, and he had the Essence Necklace. If he still couldn't deal with a Sky-class late-phase peak master, then he should really buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. He might even be able to take on a master with the strength of a perfect perfection. Of course, the premise was that Lin Yi could use the 11th form of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm. Although the 5 elements 8 trigram palm only had 10 forms, the Frenzy Fire Fist had as many as 30 forms. When the big fire lion told Lin Yi this secret, Lin Yi was very excited. If this combination continued, in theory, he should be able to use the 30th form of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm. That power would be invincible. Lin Yi only used the activation method of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm, and the incantations for the martial arts were all from the Frenzy Fire Fist. The activation method didn't change, and as long as he changed the incantations, Lin Yi could combine more and more powerful forms. However, these were all Lin Yi's guesses. In fact, Lin Yi didn't know if he could use more than 10 forms of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. In theory, it was possible, but it didn't mean that it was possible in practice. After all, the 5 elements 8 trigram palm had a limit of 10 forms. Opening the door, he looked at the familiar courtyard, and a sense of security filled his heart. Unknowingly, Lin Yi had already treated this place as his own home, or rather, a place with Meng Yao and Shu. This was home. Oh. Shield bro. Yushu was sleeping when she heard noises coming from the yard. She looked out the window and saw that Lin Yi, Shihan, and Qing Yi were back. Yushu had heard some news about the ancient world recently, since Meng Yao would call her occasionally to ask about Lin Yi's situation. Meng Yao told Yushu about her worries and rumors, and she found out that Lin Yi wasn't in the country. Shu. It's so late, why aren't you sleeping? Lin Yi didn't expect Shu to come out. How have you been? Did anyone come looking for trouble with you? Not really. Yushu shook her head. Right, Shield bro, is what Yao Yao said true? Are you being hunted by the Overseas Cultivators Association? Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that little Shu was fine. It seemed that the people of the ancient times still had some rules. He didn't do anything reckless, but he didn't expect that even Shu knew about it. But since it was Meng Yao who said it, it wasn't surprising. But it's all in the past now. Right, how's Yao Yao doing in the Palace of Darkness? Lin Yi was still worried about Meng Yao. After all, the Palace of Darkness was different from the Ice Palace. The Grand Elder was obviously a snobbish man, and Meng Yao might have found a point of balance for now, but the moment the two of them disagreed, the balance would be broken. She's fine, and she misses Shield bro a lot. Maybe you can give her a call, Shield bro. Yushu always liked to pester Lin Yi to tell her stories when he came back, but today, for the first time, she asked Lin Yi to call Meng Yao first. One could see how important Meng Yao was in her heart. Okay, I'll call her tomorrow morning. It's too late now. It was already midnight when Lin Yi got home, so Lin Yi planned to call her tomorrow. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that Lin Yi's phone rang. Lin Yi paused when he saw the caller ID. It was Meng Yao. Lin Yi was puzzled. How did Meng Yao know that he was back? Could it be Shu? No, Shu came out when she saw him coming back. Could it be Wang Xinyan? But Wang Xinyan wasn't as vigilant as Shu. She should be sleeping right now. Otherwise, Wang Xinyan would definitely come downstairs instead of calling Meng Yao. Hello, Yao Yao. No matter what, Lin Yi picked up the phone first. Lin Yi, where are you? Are you back? Meng Yao's voice was nervous and hurried. It was understandable. If Lin Yi was still abroad, he wouldn't be able to make it back in time. I just got home. I'm talking to Shu in the yard. Why are you calling me now? Lin Yi found it strange that Meng Yao didn't know where he was. It seemed like no one told her. Lin Yi, something happened in the Palace of Darkness. Meng Yao didn't hide anything. She told Lin Yi everything, from Kong Ming bringing people to propose to the 3 Sky-class late-phase peak bandits robbing the Palace of Darkness. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown when he heard Kong Xiaoming jumping out again. Anger welled up in his heart. It seemed like this guy was still restless. He couldn't help but jump out again after hearing the news from abroad. The young master of the Sky Elixir sect wanted to marry Meng Yao. At least, Lin Yi didn't believe it. After all, Lin Yi had heard from Kong Xiaobo and Peach that Silkworm Transformation wasn't a bad person. Not to mention that Silkworm Transformation had helped Lin Yi a couple of times. How could Lin Yi believe that Silkworm Transformation would do something like this? It was probably the work of the Xianchen ancestor and Kong Ming, wasn't it? But, Kong Ming marrying the 11th surprised Lin Yi. Peach had only said that Kong Ming had abandoned her, but didn't say anything about the Xianchen ancestor and the 11th's identities. So now that he knew that Kong Ming was the Xianchen ancestor's son-in-law, Lin Yi was very shocked. The two of them actually got together. They were both extremely bad people. What good could come out of them being together? However, Lin Yi smiled coldly. He was worried that he wouldn't have a chance to show his power again after coming back. Now that all the forces were ready to make a move, if Lin Yi didn't show his power again, it would be too late when his enemies joined forces to find trouble with him. Although Lin Yi had a new trump card, he couldn't face multiple masters at the same time. And now, this group of robbers came to his door. Lin Yi was going to use them. Chapter 3301. Of course, Lin Yi didn't believe that this group of people appeared out of nowhere. From Lin Yi's point of view, this group of people was more or less related to Kong Ming and the Xianchen ancestor. However, it wasn't a bad thing to spread the news of Lin Yi's current strength through these people. It was just that 3 Sky-class peak late-phase masters. If they attacked together, it would be hard for Lin Yi to deal with them. He could only find a chance to kill one in a second to shock them and let the rest retreat. He didn't know if it would work. Lin Yi prayed in his heart, "This essence necklace, please don't screw it up." "I know, I'll go to the Palace of Darkness tomorrow." Lin Yi nodded. Yao Yao, don't worry, I said I'll protect you, for life. Meng Yao blushed slightly. If it was before, she might say in her heart, "Who needs you to protect me for life?" But now, Meng Yao already understood her feelings. She was only happy after hearing what Lin Yi said. "Rest early, I'll go tomorrow morning," Lin Yi said. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Meng Yao didn't know why, but after hearing Lin Yi's words, she felt very relieved, as if the things that were going to happen tomorrow were nothing. Although Lin Yi said it casually, he didn't dare to waste a second after hanging up. He turned to Yushu and the others. "Shu, you take Xiao Han and Yi to rest. I need to prepare for tomorrow morning's trip to the Palace of Darkness." "Okay, Shield Bro." Yushu was very clear-cut when it came to the big picture. She knew that Lin Yi had something urgent to attend to, and so she didn't bother him with questions about the foreign trip. Su Shihan and Qing Yi's explanations were all the same. Lin Yi didn't go back to his room directly. Instead, he went to the backyard of the villa. Lin Yi came here to try activating the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang. Before, Lin Yi only imagined that he could activate the 11th form, but he didn't try it. After all, theory was theory, reality was reality. Logically speaking, when Lin Yi was Earth Class Late Phase Peak and Sky Class Early Phase, he should be able to activate the 10th form, but he didn't manage to do it until he was Sky Class Early Phase Peak. So, Lin Yi had to practice it. If he could successfully activate the 11th form, then Lin Yi would be more confident when he went to the Palace of Darkness tomorrow. By then, Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid of anything. If he couldn't, then Lin Yi could only resign himself to fate. When he came to the familiar backyard of the villa, General Weiwu, Skybolt Pig, and Feng ran out and surrounded Lin Yi intimately. These three spirit beasts were the closest to Lin Yi, so they were naturally happy that Lin Yi was back. Go play, I don't have time for you guys today. Lin Yi waved his hand, signaling them to go play. Lin Yi's mission tonight was the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang. The three spirit beasts naturally understood Lin Yi's words. Although they were a little disappointed, they still went to the side and didn't disturb Lin Yi. Lin Yi calmed himself down and revised the 10th form of Fire Bagwasang. This form was used when Lin Yi was facing He Tianzu overseas. He was forced to activate it, but now, Lin Yi could use it freely. After activating it, Lin Yi could clearly feel that there was still a lot of qi left in his body. At least, he could activate it one more time. This was not only the benefit of increasing his strength, but also the Essence Qi necklace. Not only could the necklace increase his attack and defense, but it could also increase his stamina. Therefore, Lin Yi's stamina and qi were a little more than before. This was reasonable. However, this discovery made Lin Yi very excited. The 10th style of the Frenzy 8 trigrams palm could heavily injure a Sky-class late-phase master. If he could use it twice tomorrow and injure 2 Sky-class late-phase masters, it would be enough to shock everyone present. However, if possible, it was more important to activate the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang. After activating the 10th form of Fire Bagwasang, Lin Yi's stamina was not enough to activate the 10th form again. But it was enough to activate the 9th form or use it to escape. Lin Yi sat cross-legged on the ground and activated the Art of Dragon Mastery. His qi recovered quickly, and Lin Yi found that the speed at which he recovered his qi was also faster than before. Obviously, this should be because of the Essence Qi necklace. This Essence Qi necklace was really a good thing. Soon, when Lin Yi recovered his qi, Lin Yi started to try to activate the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang. However, the activation of the 11th form was obviously not as easy as the 10th form. Lin Yi's first attempt ended in failure. But Lin Yi was not discouraged. The previous forms also failed, but this time, Lin Yi clearly felt that he was just a little bit away from success. If he continued to try, he would succeed. Because of this belief, Lin Yi kept trying to activate the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang for the whole night. Finally, at dawn, Lin Yi successfully activated it, and he was very familiar with it. And Lin Yi had more or less figured out the pattern of the Essence Qi necklace increasing attack power. The probability was 50%. In other words, if Lin Yi used the same move and failed once, he would definitely succeed the next time. And if he succeeded this time, he would definitely fail the next time. In other words, the probability was not random, but a real 50%. This discovery made Lin Yi very happy. Before Lin Yi left, he activated the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang once at home. Next time, he would be able to get the 11th form of Fire Bagwasang that increased attack power. After discovering this pattern, Lin Yi rode on the purple lightning beast at dawn, full of confidence as he headed towards the Dark Palace. This was Lin Yi's first time at the Dark Palace, but Meng Yao had already given the address to Lin Yi. Lin Yi rode on the purple lightning beast and headed towards the Dark Palace. Because it was early in the morning, the sky was still dark, so no one would notice Lin Yi and his beast. Looking at the majestic gate of the Dark Palace and the broken statue of the stone phoenix, Lin Yi sighed. This Kong Ming Ming was too arrogant. Did he really think that he was a stray dog? Chapter 3302. Lin Yi didn't believe that the robbers in the Dark Palace had nothing to do with Kong Ming Ming and the Xianchen ancestor. How could there be so many peak late phase heaven-class masters in the ancient world? Lin Yi knew more about the Xianchen ancestor. These three people were probably brought here by the Xianchen ancestor. Otherwise, all this talk about starting a sect was bullshit. The Palace of Darkness wasn't a place with abundant energy. Without the Dark Phoenix bloodline, training here would only be average. He would look for other deep mountains and forests. There was more energy there than here. Lin Yi could believe that these bandits were robbing resources, but he didn't believe that they were robbing territory. But did the Xianchen ancestor and Kong Ming Ming really just want to cause trouble for the Dark Palace? Or did they have other motives? You. What do you do? Just as Lin Yi stood in front of the mountain gate, a disciple hiding in the dark walked out, trembling. He looked at Lin Yi and asked timidly. The disciple couldn't be blamed for being timid. What happened yesterday really scared him. Today, Lin Yi came here riding a spirit beast, looking very domineering. The disciple hid far away and only dared to ask when he saw that Lin Yi didn't make a fuss. Is Yao Yao here? Lin Yi looked at the disciple and frowned. Wasn't he a little too timid? He still wanted to be a disciple like this. There really was no one else in the Dark Palace. Ah. Yao Yao. The disciple paused and then thought of something. You. Are you looking for our palace master Chu? Yes, is she here? Lin Yi asked. You. Are you the young master of the Heaven Elixir sect, Silkworm transformation? The disciple jumped in fright. Kong Xiaoming had come to propose, and now this domineering young man was standing there. The disciple immediately thought of Sky Silkworm transformation. What silkworm transformation? Lin Yi paused and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How did this disciple become so frightened? Was it rain from wind? He didn't look like that pretty boy from Silkworm transformation, did he? Go find your palace master and tell her that Lin Yi is here. Ah. You're Lin Yi. Okay, wait a moment. Although Lin Yi's reputation had been tarnished recently, it didn't affect Lin Yi's prestige in the hearts of these disciples. He didn't dare to underestimate Lin Yi when he appeared in such a domineering manner. He quickly turned around and reported to Meng Yao. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness as he looked at the direction the disciple left in. Because Lin Yi wasn't looking at the disciple, but at an old acquaintance of Lin Yi's. This person was Xiao Qibing. However, Lin Yi didn't stop Xiao Qibing right away. He wanted to see what this kid was up to. One had to know that the perception of a sky-class master was very strong. It was easy for Lin Yi to watch Xiao Qibing's every move. Xiao Qibing secretly took out his phone from his pocket and dialed a number. Although Lin Yi didn't know who he was calling, he didn't care what he said. Lin Yi could hear everything clearly from where he was. Elder Kong. I'm Lil Bing. Xiao Qibing said in a low voice, as if he didn't know that he was being watched by Lin Yi. He thought that his position was hidden and Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find him. He didn't think that there would be someone in the Palace of Darkness who would inform him. Oh. Qibing, what's up? Kong Mingming asked, "Is Lin Yi here?" "That's right, Elder Kong. Lin Yi is here, he's at the entrance of the Palace of Darkness," Zhao Qibing said. "Alright, I got it. Don't worry, I'll take care of it," Kong Mingming said faintly. "Alright, thank you, Elder Kong. I'll be waiting to become the manager of the Sky Elixir sect," Zhao Qibing said quickly and hung up the phone and left in a hurry. Lin Yi's face was expressionless, but he was laughing coldly in his heart. It seemed that his guess was right. Everything that happened in the Palace of Darkness had something to do with Kong Mingming. That robber group was probably sent by Kong Mingming. Otherwise, why would Zhao Qibing call him? However, Lin Yi started to understand what Kong Mingming was trying to do. Kong Mingming paid so much attention to whether he came to the Palace of Darkness or not. It was most likely that he went to the Palace of Darkness to cause trouble, not for Meng Yao, but for him. Lin Yi, Kong Mingming, and Elder Xianchen had a deep grudge against each other, and it was impossible for Kong Mingming not to do anything when Lin Yi exposed his strength abroad. But Lin Yi didn't come back for a while, and Kong Mingming didn't have a chance to cause trouble for him. He probably couldn't hold it in anymore and wanted to use the Palace of Darkness to lure him out. Because Kong Mingming knew that this was related to Meng Yao, and he couldn't just ignore it. But he didn't know that Lin Yi wasn't hiding abroad, but to increase his strength and create the Jade Space. And Lin Yi was worried about not having a chance to show off his new strength, to become someone who could kill a Sky-class late-phase peak in one hit, and this Kong Mingming gave him the chance. So, Lin Yi didn't stop Zhao Qibing at all. If he stopped him, who would tell him? Lin Yi came here today, not afraid of the robber group coming, as long as they didn't come. If they didn't come, wouldn't Lin Yi's trip be in vain? He might even have to stay here and wait for them to come, and that would be a waste of time. Lin Yi had a lot of things to do now. After this, he'd suppress the enemy forces, and Lin Yi was ready to find Armadillo. He had the location of the poison refinery, and all he needed was action. Not long after Zhao Qibing disappeared, Meng Yao appeared. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that in such a short time, Meng Yao was already an Earth-class early-phase master. "Yao Yao, I didn't think that your strength would increase so quickly." Lin Yi looked at the familiar face in front of him and smiled. Lin Yi. Meng Yao missed Lin Yi, too. After separating from him, Meng Yao realized how important he was to her. She hadn't seen Lin Yi for a while, and there were so many things she wanted to say, but at this moment, all of them turned into 2 words. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.